Chapter 777. Looking at the two commanders' reaction, the Pill Hall Master frowned and said, "Do you think it's not important?" "Is it?" the two commanders asked back. They couldn't figure out what was so important about it. Sigh. The Pill Hall Master sighed deeply. He looked at the two of them and asked, "What's my cultivation?" 9-star Battle Saint. The two of them answered without hesitation. "Think about it. I'm a 9-star Battle Saint, but Qin Feiyang can erase the Dan Flame's blood contract. Doesn't this mean that there's a 9-star Battle Saint beside him now? Or, the Battle Saint might even be stronger than a 9-star Battle Saint?" The Pill Hall Master said in a deep voice. The two of them were stunned for a moment before they frowned. It seemed like it wasn't a small matter. Qin Feiyang's threat to the great Qin Empire. I believe I don't need to tell you. If we don't get rid of him as soon as possible, when he grows stronger, the consequences will be, speaking of which. The Pill Hall Master sighed deeply and didn't continue. His eyebrows were filled with worry. The two commanders looked at each other. They naturally knew what the Pill Hall Master wanted to say. With Qin Feiyang's hatred for the Emperor, he would come back sooner or later. This man was talented, calm, meticulous, and had extraordinary means. It was almost impossible to find any flaws. If that day really came, the consequences would be unimaginable. The commander of the Invincible Black Army was silent for a moment. He looked at the commander of the Kirin Army and asked, "Should we report this to the Emperor? No matter what, they are father and son." Wait a moment. Before he could finish his sentence, the Pill Hall Master extended his hand and said, "Why?" The commander of the Invincible Black Army looked at him confusedly. "Before reporting, we have to figure out who's helping Qin Feiyang," the Pill Hall Master said. The two commanders went silent again. Qin Feiyang definitely didn't have the ability to erase the blood contract himself. No matter how talented he was, it was impossible for him to become a 9-star Battle Saint in such a short time. There was only one possibility left. Someone else helped him. However, in the Great Qin Empire, 9-star Battle Saints and those above 9-star Battle Saints were all known to them. And these people were all generals under the Emperor. For example, the Martial Arts Hall Master, Law Enforcement Hall Master, various Martial Marquis, various commanders, etc. No one would help Qin Feiyang, because helping Qin Feiyang was equivalent to going against the imperial power. No matter how big the world was, it was the king's territory. On the shores of the earth, all are the king's subjects. Who in the Great Qin Empire would dare to go against the emperor? Therefore, the people from the imperial capital could be excluded. Apart from these people, who else would help Qin Feiyang? A cold light flashed in the imperial tutor's eyes. He said something to the Pill Hall Master and the Invincible Black Army before disappearing without a trace. After a while, the Pill Hall Master frowned and said, "Deceiving the Emperor and acting on his own. The Imperial Tutor is getting bolder and bolder. We can't help it. He's the Emperor's teacher. Even the Emperor has to respect him, let alone us." The commander of the Kirin Army sighed. Forgotten continent. Ice City. The once bustling Ice City was now in ruins. The air was filled with a tragic aura and a pungent smell of blood. Near the Pill Pagoda, there was a speck of dust lying quietly in the ruins. That speck of dust was the ancient castle. Inside the ancient castle, Qin Feiyang sat cross-legged on the ground and closed his eyes to heal his wounds. The frost flame and lightning flame were floating in front of him. They were emitting two extreme temperatures. One was a high temperature that could burn his wounds. The other was a bone-piercing cold. About half an hour later, Qin Feiyang finally opened his eyes. His essence, qi, and spirit had recovered to their peak state. Lu Hong had been guarding Qin Feiyang the whole time. Seeing that Qin Feiyang opened his eyes, she asked with concern, "Are you all right?" "I'm fine." Qin Feiyang smiled. He raised his head and looked at the frost flame and lightning flame. His eyes were filled with suspicion. The nether demonic flame has already devoured the 3 Tier 5 pill fires and leveled up to Tier 6. But the strange thing is, it didn't take the initiative to devour the frost flame and lightning flame. Lu Hong said. "Really?" Qin Feiyang was surprised. He stood up and looked at the nether demonic flame floating above the Jiao Dragon Cauldron. The nether demonic flame's aura was indeed stronger than before. Logically speaking, The heavenly thunder flame and the frost flame were now ownerless. And the nether demonic flame had also leveled up to tier 6. It could completely devour these two pill fires. But why didn't it do so? Could it be that the heavenly thunder flame and the frost flame were not tier 6 pill fires, but tier 7? Or even higher? Thinking of this, with an expectant mood, he turned to face the heavenly thunder flame and the frost flame. He cut his finger and dripped his blood to bind them. Soon, the blood contract was completed. But the result disappointed him. These two pill fires were indeed only tier 6. But why did the nether demonic flame not devour them? What secrets were hidden in this? Looking at Qin Feiyong, who was thinking hard and frowning, Lu Hong said with concern, "If you can't figure it out, don't think about it. Anyway, the truth will come out sooner or later." "That's true." Qin Feiyong nodded. Lu Hong asked, "Then where are you going next?" "To the third area." The woman in white said that the pagoda lord of the third area told her and her sister that they must protect these two pill fires. Then the pagoda lord of the third area is most likely an insider. Qin Feiyong's eyes flashed. After he finished speaking, he left the castle and flew toward the third area. As for the double-winged snow eagle, he was really not in the mood to look for it, nor did he want to look for it. Chirp. But after flying for about half a mile, a sharp chirp sounded behind him. Qin Feiyong paused in the void and turned his head to look. He saw a palm-sized snow eagle, breaking through the air like lightning. Who else could it be but the double-winged snow eagle? Flying in front of Qin Feiyong, the double-winged snow eagle said angrily, "Ungrateful bastard, where are you going? Why don't you wait for me?" Ungrateful? When I was fighting with the city lord and the others, where were you? When I was imprisoned by the pressure of the mysterious lady and the pagoda lord, where were you? You say I'm ungrateful? How dare you? The fury in Qin Feiyong's heart immediately surged up with whooshing sounds. At the critical moment, he could not find a trace of it. But as soon as the matter was over, he jumped out. He had never seen such an unreliable guy. Faced with Qin Feiyong's scolding, the double-winged snow eagle laughed awkwardly. Qin Feiyong took a deep breath and said expressionlessly, "Tell me, where have you been fooling around these past few months?" "In the Ice City," the double-winged snow eagle said. Qin Feiyong paused for a moment, then his anger rose again. He roared, "Then why didn't you come out to help? You can handle it, can't you? Why do you need my help?" Later, the mysterious lady and the others appeared. Each of them was so powerful. How could I dare to come out? Fortunately, I escaped in time. Otherwise, you wouldn't be able to see me now. The double-winged snow eagle laughed. Cowardly as a mouse. Qin Feiyong despised. I'm cowardly? The double-winged snow eagle said angrily. Let me tell you, after you hid in the castle, I went to follow the mysterious lady. Follow? Qin Feiyong paused and asked hurriedly. Did you find anything? Why should I tell you? The double-winged snow eagle tilted its head and put on a very cold look. Qin Feiyong's face darkened. He said helplessly, Okay, I apologize. Tell me. That's more like it. The double-winged snow eagle smiled proudly and said, I didn't find anything, but I saw with my own eyes that she slaughtered the Qingyuan, Quicksand, and Black Mountain tribes. Not a single person survived. What? She really did it. Qin Feiyong's face turned pale. Their auras were all extremely powerful. Even at the edge of the area, Qin Feiyong could sense the aura of dozens of ferocious beasts above the 5-star War Master level. One could imagine, in the depths of the glacier, how terrifying was the strength of the ferocious beasts. However, Qin Feiyong did not stop at all. He directly entered the glacier and disappeared into the horizon. 2 hours were very short for ordinary people, because sometimes cooking a meal would take an hour. But for the mysterious madam, she could do a lot of things in an hour. All the large and small tribes in the second area had been destroyed by her. At this moment, looking at the entire second area, there was not a single place that was intact. There were ruins everywhere, and corpses were everywhere. This place had become an Azura hell. It was even worse than hell. Blood gathered into a river. The entire world was shrouded in a bloody mist. Such cruelty, such inhumanity, it was simply the right for everyone to kill. But she didn't stop. Open the door of potential and head to the first area. For the people of the second and first areas, this was a terrifying calamity. Before anyone could figure out what was going on, they had already lost their lives and didn't have the slightest ability to fight back. At the end of the first area, above the ice lake in the glacier forest, a group of uninvited guests also appeared. They were all wearing black armor, and their aura was like the ocean, unfathomable. Especially the leader, who was wearing a golden armor, exuded an aura that shook the earth. That's right. This was the invincible Black Army from the capital. There were a total of 21 people, and they were all curiously looking at this world. One of them suddenly retracted his gaze and looked at the commander of the invincible Black Army. "Commander, have you been here before?" "No." The commander shook his head and said, "But this commander has heard of this place. This is a very magical and terrifying place. Remember to be careful in the future." "Understood." The 20 black-armored guards bowed and replied, "Let's go, then." The commander of the invincible Black Army waved his hand and was ready to leave with this group of people. Stop. But at this moment, a cold voice sounded. "Kacha, dong." Before the voice faded away, a huge snow python swept out from the ice lake below and suspended in the air, looking at this group of people. Such a strong aura. At the same time, the commander and his group of people looked at the snow python, and their pupils couldn't help but shrink. The snow python suddenly asked, "Are you from the Great Qin Empire?" This was a woman's voice. It was very clear and pleasant to the ears. "Yes." The commander of the invincible Black Army nodded and said, "May I ask who you are?" "Don't worry about who I am. Where did you come from? Go back to where you came from. Otherwise, don't blame me for being rude," the snow python said. The commander immediately frowned. As the commander of the invincible Black Army, other than a few people, who dared to speak to him in such a tone, even the marquises had to be polite when they saw him. Therefore, the snow python's attitude made him very unhappy. But he also knew that as a newcomer, he had to endure as much as he could. After all, he didn't know much about the Forgotten Continent. "Sir, I am the commander of the invincible Black Army of the Great Qin Empire. This time, I came to the Forgotten Land under the orders of the Emperor. Please make an exception." He cupped his hands and said in a friendly manner, "The commander of the invincible Black Army." Hearing this, the snow python's eyes revealed a trace of surprise. After pondering for a moment, she nodded and said, "Okay, but I will only give you half a month. After half a month, if I don't see you come back, I will personally come and find you. At that time, you will have to bear the consequences." After she finished speaking, a terrifying pressure suddenly rushed out of her body. Under this pressure, even the commander of the invincible Black Army couldn't help but feel frightened, let alone the 20 black-armored guards behind him. Their eyes were filled with shock, and their bodies and hearts trembled. However, the pressure came and went quickly. Dong. In the next moment, the snow python entered the ice lake and disappeared from everyone's sight. What is this forgotten land? Why did we encounter such a powerful existence as soon as we appeared? The 20 black-armored guards looked at the ice lake in surprise, and cold sweat appeared on their foreheads. The commander said in a deep voice, "That's why I asked you to be careful. Let's go, we only have half a month. We have to speed up." Whoosh! The group of people turned into streaks of light and rushed out of the glacier forest like lightning. "Commander, look, there is a tribe in front of us." One of the black-armored guards pointed in front of them. The tribe he was pointing at was the Lu tribe, which was located at the edge of the glacier forest. The commander of the invincible Black Army glanced at the Lu tribe and said, "Let's go and ask them." In less than a few breaths, a group of people descended on the sky above the Lu tribe, and they didn't hide their aura at all. "Who is it?" The people of the Lu tribe also walked out of their houses and looked at the invincible Black Army with vigilance. One of the black-armored guards waved his hand, and a white figure appeared in the air. It was Qin Feiyong. The black-armored guard looked at the people of the Lu tribe and asked, "Have you seen this person before? Isn't he Qin Feiyong?" "That damn bastard. Why are you looking for him?" The people of the Lu tribe saw Qin Feiyong's shadow, and their killing intent soared. "You found him just like that?" The commander of the invincible Black Army was stunned. "Wasn't it too easy?" Cough. He clenched his fist and coughed, then asked, Are you sure you didn't recognize the wrong person? Of course. Because we have a blood feud with him. A few years ago, he and his companions killed all the battle kings of the Lu tribe. So, even if he turns into ashes, we can still recognize him. The group of people roared with grief and indignation. A few years ago, the commander of the invincible Black Army was stunned. Even if Qin Feiyong came to the Forgotten Land, it hadn't been that long. How could they say that it was a few years ago? To be honest, we were ordered to hunt down Qin Feiyong. So, I hope that you can cooperate with me and tell me everything about him. At that time, I will definitely avenge your dead clansmen. The commander of the invincible Black Army said. Okay. That bastard should have died long ago. We will tell you everything that happened that year. That year, not only did he commit crimes in this area, but he also went to White Fox City and Sky Thunder City to commit crimes. The clansmen of the Lu tribe all started to talk at once. Whatever they knew, whatever they had heard, they told him in full detail. After hearing everything, the Grand Commander furrowed his brows. He didn't expect that Qin Feiyong had come to the Forgotten Land a few years ago. How did he come here? Suddenly, a cold light flashed in his eyes. It must be the teleportation altar of the spiritual state. He dared to let Qin Feiyong enter the Forgotten Land without permission. The spiritual state mansion master was really bold. He looked at the people of the Lu tribe and said, "Can you give me the coordinates of Sky Thunder City?" A few days ago, we heard rumors that Sky Thunder City had been destroyed, and Qin Feiyong seemed to be one of the culprits. But we don't know the coordinates of Sky Thunder City. You can go to White Fox City and ask around. The people there should know. The people of the Lu tribe also gave the coordinates of White Fox City to the commander of the invincible Black Army. Thank you. Chapter 779. White Fox City. When the commander of the invincible Black Army and the others arrived above the city, they were all stunned. How could there be a city here? Below, there was a barren, fragmented ruin. There were corpses and severed limbs everywhere in the wasteland. Blood dyed the soil red. The pungent smell of blood filled the air. It was nauseating. How could this be? The group of people's eyes were filled with shock. One should know. As a member of the invincible Black Army, everyone's hands were stained with blood. But at this moment, looking at the scene below, they could not help but shudder. It was too cruel. Who was this crazy person? Suddenly, a guard in black armor seemed to have discovered something. He pointed to the left and shouted, "There's someone there." Swoosh! The group of people looked over and saw a white-clothed woman in the sky above the wasteland. The white-clothed woman stood in the air. Her long hair and dress fluttered in the wind. There was no aura around her. She seemed to have merged with the air. If they did not see her with their own eyes, they would not have noticed her. Moreover, looking at the woman, the commander of the invincible Black Army felt a sense of crisis. "Who are you?" the white-clothed woman asked. She looked at the invincible Black Army with curiosity. "Who are you?" the commander of the invincible Black Army asked. The white-clothed woman frowned and said unhappily, "I'm the one asking you now. I don't want to ask you again. You're courting death." Seeing the woman's arrogant attitude, a guard in black armor behind the commander of the invincible Black Army was furious. His eyes flashed with a terrifying cold light. "You're the one courting death." The woman in white suddenly looked at the guard, but he didn't move at all, nor did he show any signs. Ah! Accompanied by a scream, the guard in black armor exploded and died on the spot. What? This means. Seeing this, the rest of the black-armored guards were dumbfounded. "No matter who you are, you must die today." The white-clothed woman did not say anything else. She raised her arm and pointed her finger in the air. Boom! A monstrous power gushed out like a raging wave of a vast ocean. It blotted out the sky and covered the earth as it rushed toward the invincible Black Army. This is. The commander of the invincible Black Army was startled. Suddenly, his pupils contracted as he shouted, "This is the Emperor's aura. Retreat!" Emperor's might. The expressions of the group of black-armored guards behind him changed abruptly, and they hurriedly turned and fled. Who would have thought that this woman was actually a battle emperor? As for that person, she was none other than the mysterious madam. White Fox City was naturally destroyed by her. As the mysterious lady looked at the fleeing invincible Black Army, a mocking look appeared in her eyes. The strength of this group of people was terrifying. But in her eyes, he was no better than an ant. She waved her hand, and the surging Emperor's might instantly turned into 20 streaks of Emperor's might that shot towards the Grand Commander and the others. Ah! Those black armored guards died one after another, unable to retaliate at all. Their blood splattered across the sky. In the blink of an eye, there were only 11 people left, including the Grand Commander. Your Excellency, we are the invincible Black Army of the Great Qin Empire. Please show mercy. The commander of the invincible Black Army hastily shouted. He cursed his bad luck in his heart. They had only been in the Forgotten Land for a short period of time, and they had already encountered 2 terrifying experts. What kind of place was this? If this continued, not to mention chasing after Qin Feiyang, they would probably be completely annihilated before they could even find a trace of Qin Feiyang. The Great Qin Empire? At the same time, the mysterious madam was stunned when she heard the Grand Commander's shout. In the next moment, the Emperor's throne that was charging towards the Grand Commander and the others disappeared into thin air. The Grand Commander and the others heaved a sigh of relief. The mysterious madam looked at the Grand Commander and asked, "Are you here to find Qin Feiyang?" The Grand Commander was wiping the cold sweat on his forehead when he heard the question. He looked at the mysterious madam and asked in surprise, "Your Excellency, you also know Qin Feiyang?" "Of course I know him." The mysterious madam smiled and said, "This kid almost died in my hands several times." The Grand Commander's eyes flickered slightly when he heard this. He asked cautiously, "So, you also have a grudge against Qin Feiyang?" "Sort of." The mysterious madam nodded. Hearing this, the Grand Commander's heart finally relaxed. "To tell you the truth, I came to the Forgotten Land to hunt down Qin Feiyang." He cupped his hands and said. The mysterious madam was stunned and asked in confusion, "Why do you want to hunt him down?" The Grand Commander said, "This is an order from above. It's not convenient for me to reveal it. Since it's not convenient, I won't force you. But there's one question you must answer. What's Qin Feiyang's status in the Great Qin Empire?" The mysterious madam said. The Grand Commander was in a difficult position. "If you don't tell me, you'll all die." The mysterious madam chuckled. Although her tone was calm, there was a terrifying murderous intent. The Grand Commander frowned and sighed. "All right, I'll tell you. Qin Feiyang is the son of the Emperor of the Great Qin Empire, but due to some special reasons, he has been stripped of his position as prince." "What? He's the son of the Emperor?" The mysterious madam was shocked. She had thought that Qin Feiyang's identity in the Great Qin Empire was definitely not simple, but she didn't expect his background to be so great. But soon after, the corner of her mouth lifted slightly as she mocked. "That Emperor of your Great Qin Empire is really an old fool." The Grand Commander's gaze darkened as he said, "Sir, please pay attention to your words. What I said is the truth. Qin Feiyang is so young, yet he has already stepped into the 6-star War Master. He can be said to be an unparalleled genius. The most important thing is that he has a tenacious personality and never gives up easily. As long as he is nurtured a little, he will definitely become a great talent in the future. But your emperor crippled him and even sent you guys to chase after him. To be honest, saying that he's old and confused is already praising him." The mysterious madam sneered. The Grand Commander's face was as gloomy as water. Just what kind of background did this person have to actually dare to evaluate His Majesty like that? Suddenly, he realized a very serious problem and asked in surprise, "What did you just say? Qin Feiyang has already stepped into the 6-star War Master?" "That's right." The mysterious madam nodded. "That's impossible. The last time he escaped from the imperial capital, he had just broken through to the 4-star War Master. It's only been a few months, and he actually broke through 2 small realms in a row. Even if he opened the Gate of Potential, it's impossible for him to be so fast." The Grand Commander's face was filled with disbelief. The remaining 10 black armored guards also had looks of disbelief on their faces. "What did you say? He opened the Gate of Potential?" The mysterious madam was also surprised. "Yes. He once said that he had already opened the 5th level of the Gate of Potential." The Grand Commander said. The 5th level, the mysterious madam was also shocked, but then a smile crawled onto her face as she muttered, "Little bastard, you really hit it well." The Grand Commander suddenly said, "Sir, Since you have enmity with Qin Feiyang, why don't we join hands to deal with him? Join hands? The mysterious madam laughed and shook her head. If I wanted to kill Qin Feiyang, he would have died long ago. Why would I need to join hands with you? After pausing for a moment, she continued, moreover, you are a 9-star war saint after all. To deal with a mere 6-star war master, you actually need to find someone to join hands with. Don't you think that you are ridiculous? Hearing these words that were filled with ridicule, the Grand Commander lowered his head in embarrassment. That's right. No matter how monstrous Qin Feiyang was, he was only a 6-star war master right now. What was he afraid of? However, the mysterious madam's attitude made him very puzzled. What was she thinking? Since they had enmity, why didn't they kill him and let Qin Feiyang continue to grow? He pondered for a moment and asked, then you won't stop us from killing Qin Feiyang, right? Why should I stop you? The mysterious madam shook her head and smiled. Not only will I not stop you, I will also tell you his current whereabouts. Really? The Grand Commander was overjoyed. He should be on his way to the 3rd area right now. I will give you a coordinate. When you get there, fly straight into the depths. I believe that it won't be long before you can catch up to him. The mysterious madam smiled. The coordinates given to the Grand Commander were the coordinates of the Ice City. Thank you. The Grand Commander cupped his hands and thanked her. Then, he opened a teleportation gate and quickly left with the 10 guards. The son of the great Qin Empire's emperor. No wonder that Snow Python allowed him to freely enter and leave the Forgotten Continent. Mu family, Qin family. It's getting more and more interesting, the mysterious madam muttered to herself. Finally, she pursed her lips and disappeared without a trace. Let's talk about Qin Feiyang. After entering the glacier, he kept encountering fierce beasts blocking his way. Moreover, these fierce beasts all had the strength of a 5-star war master at the very least. It could be said that they were extremely annoying. In the end, he took out the Heavenly Thunder Sword. The Heavenly Thunder Sword was a sacred artifact. Even though it had not awakened, the sacred might it emitted was enough to make the fierce beasts below the War Saint panic. Even the War Saint level fierce beasts did not dare to act rashly. So, along the way, there was no danger. In the evening, Qin Feiyang landed on the peak of an ice mountain and looked ahead. In front of him, it was a lush snow forest that covered an area of several miles. Ancient trees were uprooted and towered into the sky, looking incomparably strong. At the top of the tree, there was a thick layer of snow accumulated. At first glance, it looked like a huge snow-white umbrella standing in the snow. And in the forest, he could faintly sense an extremely terrifying aura. But more importantly, in this huge forest, he only sensed this aura. This meant that, in the forest, there was only one fierce beast. But this fierce beast was the emperor of this area. The other fierce beasts did not dare to set foot in this place. And Qin Feiyang stopped to think, should he take a detour? Because without any suspense, the fierce beast lurking in the forest was definitely a War Saint level existence. Although he had the Heavenly Thunder Sword in his hand, he could not awaken it. If an accident happened, wasting time was a small matter. If his life was endangered, it would be too late to regret it. Very soon, he made a decision. In order to avoid some unnecessary trouble, it was better to take a detour. Whoosh! He once again soared into the sky and flew towards the right side of the forest. Chapter 780. There was a medicinal fragrance. It was very faint, but it did exist. Qin Feiyang lowered his head and scanned the forest, his eyes flickering. Although there was a medicinal fragrance, he didn't know what kind of medicinal herb it was. If it was just a very ordinary medicinal herb, then it wouldn't be worth the risk. After pondering for a moment, Qin Feiyang held the mentality of killing 1,000 by mistake and not letting one go. He still planned to go down and take a look. Whiz! After entering the forest, he put away the Heavenly Thunder Sword, smelled the medicinal fragrance, and carefully walked deeper into the forest. Because the holy might would alarm the beast emperor lurking in the forest. Inside the forest, it was too quiet. Coupled with the fact that it was evening, it was dark everywhere. It made one's hair stand on end. About 100 breaths passed. He seemed to have discovered something and hid behind a big tree. He stuck his head out and looked ahead. His pupils immediately shrank. Although the forest was dark, with Qin Feiyang's current cultivation, the night could not block his line of sight. A few hundred meters in front of him, there was a huge monster lying on the ground. It was a fierce crocodile. Its body was dozens of meters long, and it was ferocious. It lay motionless in the snow, its eyes tightly closed, as if it was sleeping. But unlike other fierce crocodiles, this fierce crocodile's scales were like ice. If he didn't hear its heartbeat and breathing, Qin Feiyang would have thought that it was just an ice sculpture. But that wasn't the case. According to Qin Feiyang's knowledge, this fierce crocodile was called the frost crocodile, and was also a species from 10,000 years ago. There were records in the ancient books. The frost crocodile was cruel and bloodthirsty. Its hard body was comparable to divine iron, and it was difficult for ordinary sharp weapons to break through its defense. Moreover, it also had a mouthful of terrifying fangs. Even the fierce beasts of the same realm as it were unable to block its bite. And the aura that Qin Feiyang sensed came from this fierce crocodile. Qin Feiyang didn't dare to step forward, because the aura emitted by this frost crocodile far surpassed that of the 9-star war sect. He held his breath and scanned the snow in front of the frost crocodile. Suddenly, Qin Feiyang's gaze locked onto the snow in front of the frost crocodile's head. His face also revealed a trace of ecstasy. On the snowy ground, there was a small tree about half a meter tall. Little Uncle's tree trunk and leaves were all snow-white, blending in with the snow. If one didn't look carefully, it would be hard to notice. Between the branches, there were 3 fruits hanging from them. These 3 fruits were only the size of an egg, and they seemed to be condensed from ice. They were crystalline, translucent, and emitted strands of faintly discernible rays of light. And the medicinal fragrance that Qin Feiyang smelled came from those 3 fruits. But that was not the point. The important thing was that Qin Feiyang had captured a tiger-shaped spirit tattoo on the small tree's trunk. In other words, this little tree was 10,000 years old. A moment later, Qin Feiyang glanced at the frost crocodile and entered the ancient castle with a flash. He looked at the 2-winged snow eagle that had nothing to do and said, "I found a treasure. Help me snatch it." The dual-winged snow eagle did not dare to cultivate. Because it was already able to break through to the Battle Saint realm, if it cultivated and accidentally stepped into the Battle Saint realm, it would have to wait until it became a 9-star Battle Saint to unlock the door of potential. By then, the time needed would undoubtedly be longer. What treasure? But before the dual-winged snow eagle could speak, Wolf King and Fatso were the first to open their eyes and stare at Qin Feiyang excitedly. What kind of people are these? Once they hear that there is a treasure, it's as if they are injected with chicken blood. The dual-winged snow eagle looked at the man and wolf in disdain, then looked at Qin Feiyang and chuckled. What treasure? When it spoke, its eyes were shining, and it was only a step away from drooling. After being looked down upon, Wolf King and Fatso wanted to flip out, but when they saw the dual-winged snow eagle's eyes, they were stunned. Aren't we the same? How dare we talk about others? Qin Feiyang glanced at them and said with a smile, "Mystic ice fruit." Mystic ice fruit? Fatso was slightly stunned and immediately lost interest. What is a mystic ice fruit? Wolf King and the dual-winged snow eagle looked at the two of them in confusion. Mystic ice fruit is an ingredient for refining potential pills and small creation pills, but it is not very precious. Fat Lord still has dozens of them in his Qiankuan bag. Fatso waved his hand and said, "I see." Hearing Fatso's words, Wolf King and the other 2 beasts also lost interest. Qin Feiyang glanced at them and said helplessly, "Can you let me finish?" "Go ahead." Fatso and Wolf King looked at him listlessly. If it was just an ordinary mystic ice fruit, of course I would not be so excited. But now the mystic ice fruit outside is 10,000 years old. Qin Feiyang said. What? Hearing this, the man and the 2 beasts' eyes suddenly shone. If it was a 10,000-year-old mystic ice fruit, it would naturally be a different story. Let's go out and snatch it." Wolf King stood up and urged, his fighting spirit high. The small creation pill required the same medicinal ingredients as the potential pill. As for the potential pill, there were a total of 33 medicinal ingredients. But now, they had only found snow crystals and blood ginseng that were 10,000 years old. They were still lacking a lot. So, once they found it, they had to get it. "Why didn't I see you so active before?" Looking at the impatient Wolf King, Qin Feiyang rolled his eyes, and then said, I and the dual-winged snow eagle will go out and take a look first. If it really doesn't work out, I'll let you guys go out and help. Next, he looked at the dual-winged snow eagle and said, beside the mystic ice fruit, there is a war saint-level frost crocodile. The dual-winged snow eagle nodded and instantly restrained his aura to the limit. Shwa! Then, Qin Feiyong brought the dual-winged snow eagle and appeared behind the big tree once again. The dual-winged snow eagle had transformed. At this moment, it was only the size of a palm. Lying on Qin Feiyong's shoulder, it stuck its head out to look at the small tree. When it saw the tiger-shaped spirit grain, its eyes immediately lit up. Are you confident? Qin Feiyong asked via sound transmission. The dual-winged snow eagle turned its gaze, sized up the frost crocodile for a while, and secretly said, you have a sacred artifact, so it's not difficult to deal with it. But the problem is, once we fight, it's very likely that the mystic ice fruit will be destroyed, so we have to think of a way to lure it away. Qin Feiyong nodded and sent a sound transmission. Then you go and lure it. Why don't you go? The dual-winged snow eagle was startled, and immediately said angrily, if I had your speed, would I need to beg you? Qin Feiyong rolled his eyes at it. No, although this emperor is fast, it is still a war saint. Competing with it in speed is purely courting death. The dual-winged snow eagle shook its head. You don't even dare to go. Do you still have any prospects? Qin Feiyong stared at it angrily. However, the dual-winged snow eagle looked like a dead pig that was not afraid of boiling water, and said indifferently, don't try to provoke this emperor, it's useless, this emperor won't fall for your tricks. Qin Feiyong's face darkened. This bastard. There was no time for him to be reliable. Suddenly, the dual-winged snow eagle's eyes lit up, and it secretly said, this emperor has thought of a good idea. What idea? Qin Feiyong asked. Can't you hide in the castle? Now, run over there. Don't be afraid of it. Grab the mystic ice fruit and enter the castle. At that time, even if it wakes up, it can only watch you. How is it? This method is awesome. The dual-winged snow eagle chuckled. A row of black lines appeared on Qin Feiyong's forehead. He really wanted to strangle this bastard to death. If this method was feasible, he would have acted long ago. Why would he need to talk nonsense with the dual-winged snow eagle? The reason why it was not feasible was because the small tree was right in front of the ice crocodile's mouth, almost touching its bloody mouth. With such a short distance, as long as the ice crocodile opened its mouth, it would be able to swallow him alive. Not to mention, the berserk beast's sense of smell was usually very sensitive, and the ice crocodile was still a battle saint. Even if it restrained its aura to the extreme, as long as it approached, it would immediately sense it. If he really listened to the dual-winged snow eagle's rotten idea, it was guaranteed that he would not be able to return. Suddenly, he rolled his eyes and smiled. I also thought of a good idea. What? The dual-winged snow eagle looked at him expectantly. A smirk flashed across Qin Feiyong's eyes. He grabbed the dual-winged snow eagle and directly threw it out. The dual-winged snow eagle was still in a daze. When it regained its senses, it was already only a dozen meters away from the ice crocodile. You bastard! Immediately, it was furious and secretly roared at Qin Feiyong. Then, it turned around and wanted to escape, afraid that it would wake up the ice crocodile. Humph, if you dare to run away, you will never be able to open the gate of potential. Qin Feiyong secretly snorted. The dual-winged snow eagle's body stiffened. It turned its head and gritted its teeth as it stared at Qin Feiyong. Qin Feiyong didn't care about the look in its eyes at all. He sent a voice transmission and urged, go quickly before it wakes up. Bastard, you win. The dual-winged snow eagle with a stomach full of grievances looked back at the ice crocodile. It suddenly gritted its teeth and rushed towards the small tree. However, when it landed in front of the small tree, the ice crocodile still showed no signs of waking up. What's the situation? The dual-winged snow eagle was a little stunned. Seeing this, Qin Feiyong urged, don't dawdle, hurry up. What the hell are you urging? The dual-winged snow eagle cursed secretly without turning its head. It stretched out its wings and waved them in front of the ice crocodile's closed eyes. But there were still no signs of waking up. It still won't wake up? The dual-winged snow eagle was surprised, and then laughed. This guy must be having an erotic dream. Finished. It turned around and stretched out its claws, grabbing the small tree's trunk and preparing to uproot it. Shwa! But at this moment, the ice crocodile's tightly shut eyes behind him suddenly opened. Qin Feiyong had been paying attention to the ice crocodile's situation. Seeing it open its eyes, his heart immediately turned cold. It was a pair of scarlet eyes, filled with bloodthirst and cruelty. He hurriedly looked at the dual-winged snow eagle and roared, "It's staring at you, quick!" What? The dual-winged snow eagle's body trembled as it slowly turned its head. When it met the ice crocodile's scarlet eyes, its soul almost flew out of its body. Suddenly, the ice crocodile's bloody mouth moved, spewing out a pungent smell of blood. The dual-winged snow eagle quivered and hurriedly waved its wings, saying, "Don't be rash, I'm just passing by. You don't have to do anything. I'll scram immediately." Finished. It turned around like lightning, stretched out its claws, grabbed the small tree, and pulled with all its might. Crack! The ice on the ground shattered, snow flew everywhere, and the small tree was immediately uprooted. Then, as if its butt was on fire, it rushed towards Qin Feiyong without looking back. Roar! Chapter 781. This. Qin Feiyong was dumbfounded. It was swallowed alive just like that? Following that, he could not help but feel chills all over his body. It was obvious that the frost crocodile had already sensed the approach of the double-winged snow eagle. The reason why it had been holding back was to numb the double-winged snow eagle. These fierce beasts were really each more sinister than the other. Clang! In the blink of an eye. When he came back to his senses, Qin Feiyong decisively took out the sky thunder sword. Although the double-winged snow eagle was somewhat unreliable, it was after all his companion now. His companion was in trouble. No matter how dangerous it was, he would not back down. Dang! He roared and jumped out from behind the big tree. He grabbed the sky thunder sword and slashed it fiercely. The sword aura was like a rainbow, cutting through the sky. For a moment, the ground trembled and snow flew everywhere. Those thick and strong ancient trees were like withered trees that could not withstand a single blow. They were instantly crushed into pieces by the sword aura. Qin Feiyong had not appeared and his aura had been restrained to the extreme. The frost crocodile had not discovered him. Therefore, faced with this sudden attack, the frost crocodile was somewhat caught off guard. Coupled with the speed of the sword aura, it was as fast as lightning. Before the frost crocodile could react, the sword aura slashed its wide mouth. Poof! Immediately, a stream of hot blood gushed out like a fountain and sprayed dozens of feet away. The frost crocodile's bloody mouth was actually split into two by the sword aura. If Qin Feiyong was a little closer, he could split its entire head. Roar! The intense pain made the frost crocodile roar again and again. Its huge body rolled in the snow. The earth shook and the ice shattered. A large area of the surrounding ancient trees was crushed. The rumbling was deafening. Whoosh! Suddenly, a white stream of light rushed out from the frost crocodile's wide mouth. It was the double-winged snow eagle. Qin Feiyong said in surprise, "Aya, you weren't swallowed alive? Don't gloat over there." The two-winged snow eagle glared at it fiercely. It flapped its wings and floated above the frost crocodile. Previously, it was almost swallowed alive. Luckily, Qin Feiyong split open the frost crocodile's mouth at the crucial moment, giving it a chance to escape. But even so, it was still very unhappy with Qin Feiyong. Because, if Qin Feiyong hadn't thrown it over when it wasn't paying attention, it wouldn't have fallen into such a crisis. "Bastard! I'll settle this with you in the future." It muttered under its breath and said angrily to Qin Feiyong, "What are you waiting for? Kill it." "Do I need you to tell me that?" Qin Feiyong rolled his eyes and looked at the frost crocodile that was still rolling on the ground. Clang! He suddenly raised the heavenly thunder sword, and his saint might surged. With a wave of his hand, a dazzling sword chi whizzed out. Its terrifying sharpness tore apart the glacier. But at this moment, the frost crocodile suddenly turned into the size of a palm and flew away like lightning. Beasts that had cultivated to the battle saint level no longer needed the transformation pill to change their size at will. Boom! The sword chi slashed towards the ground. Accompanied by a loud sound, a few miles of land was instantly razed to the ground. But the frost crocodile ran away. Want to run? Lend me the heavenly thunder sword. Looking at the escaping frost crocodile, the two-winged snow eagle was filled with rage. It stretched out its claws and snatched the heavenly thunder sword from Qin Feiyong's hands. It then activated its battle soul and chased after the frost crocodile. Don't chase. Qin Feiyong quickly shouted. One must know. They hadn't even reached the central area of the glacier, and they had already encountered a battle saint-level frost crocodile. There must be beasts stronger than the frost crocodile in the deeper area. And once those beasts sensed the battle here and came to join in the fun, they could only run for their lives. However, the angry two-winged snow eagle didn't listen at all and chased to the end. Impulsiveness is the devil. Qin Feiyong sighed helplessly and could only use phantom steps to catch up. But whether it was the frost crocodile or the two-winged snow eagle, their speed far exceeded his. Very soon, he lost track of it. He stood on top of an ice peak and scanned the area in front of him. His brows were tightly knitted together. Forget it. I'll just wait here for it. After pondering for a moment, he simply entered the forest below to see if he could find any other medicinal herbs. Not long after, a hint of bewilderment crept into his eyes as he actually smelled another medicinal fragrance. He followed the medicinal fragrance and searched. Not long after, he walked out of the forest and an ice lake entered his sight. The ice lake wasn't big, only a few 100 feet wide. On the surface of the lake, there was a thick layer of ice. And in the middle of the ice lake, there was a blooming flower. It was the size of a baby's palm and had a total of 3 petals. Its entire body seemed to be carved from crystal, emitting a hazy radiance. And on the petals, there was a tiger-shaped spirit pattern. It's actually an ice crystal flower. And it's 10,000 years old. Qin Feiyong was overjoyed. The ice crystal flower was also one of the medicinal herbs used to refine the small creation pill. However, he didn't rush up immediately because such a rare treasure was basically guarded by powerful beasts. Of course, there were exceptions. But such exceptions were too rare. Qin Feiyong scanned the lake's surface and didn't find any traces of beasts. After pondering for a while, he turned and walked into the forest. Not long after, he walked out with a stone the size of a dustpan. Next, he lifted the stone and threw it into the ice lake. Crack! Splash! The stone hit not far away from the ice crystal flower. The ice layer on the lake's surface instantly cracked, splashing up waves of several meters high. Whoosh! Following closely, a white stream of light swept out from the waves. It was a snake. It was more than 10 meters long and its entire body was like jade. White jade demonic snake. Qin Feiyong's eyes widened. He wasn't unfamiliar with this thing at all. He clearly remembered that back then, in the valley where Mu Tianyong was buried, he almost lost his life under the venomous fangs of the white jade demonic snake. The most important thing was that the white jade demonic snake was a social creature. As long as one appeared, there would definitely be a large group of them under the ice lake. However, the strength of this white jade demonic snake wasn't very strong. It was about a 1-star battle ancestor. At the same time, when the white jade demonic snake appeared, it also discovered Qin Feiyong, who was standing by the lake. The snake flicked its tongue, and its long and narrow eyes revealed traces of cold light. It was obviously threatening Qin Feiyong not to approach. Tisk, I'm not afraid of you. Qin Feiyong smiled disdainfully, turned into a stream of light, and rushed toward the ice crystal flower. Hiss! The white jade demonic snake immediately let out an ear-piercing scream. Crack! Whoosh! The ice layer on the entire ice lake was constantly cracking. One by one, the white jade demonic snakes rushed out like lightning, pouncing towards Qin Feiyong like a huge wave. Qin Feiyong hurriedly swept his gaze across. The strongest of these white jade demonic snakes was only a 5-star battle ancestor, so they couldn't threaten him at all. Boom! He released his aura. Before those white jade demonic snakes could even get close, they were all sent flying, and a large number of them were killed or injured. Blood poured down like a waterfall. In the blink of an eye, the originally clear and bright ice lake was dyed blood red. Soon, Qin Feiyong rushed to the front of the ice crystal flower, his eyes shining brightly. But just as he was about to reach out to grab it, an unprecedented sense of danger suddenly surged into his heart. Shwa! He decisively retreated. At the same time, just as he was retreating, A ray of light shot out from the stamen of the ice crystal flower. At first glance, it was like an earthworm, harmless to humans and animals. But it was the opposite. Not only did it erupt with a terrifying aura, its speed was even faster than Qin Feiyong's by a large margin. The danger that Qin Feiyong felt came from it, because it was also a white jade demonic snake. And such a small white jade demonic snake had obviously undergone transformation. Fierce beasts that could transform were all existences of the War Saint level. So, facing the Snake Emperor of the War Saint level, with Qin Feiyong's current strength, he had no chance of winning. He had never thought that there would be such a terrifying existence hiding in the stamen. The Serpent Emperor's aura was overbearing. Like a graceful swan, he closed in on Qin Feiyong with lightning speed. Its eyes, which were as big as a grain of rice, were suffused with a gloomy light. Qin Feiyong's mind trembled, and he entered the castle without hesitation. The Snake Emperor was stunned as he scanned the air in bewilderment. But in the next moment, Qin Feiyong appeared below the Snake Emperor out of thin air. Because once Qin Feiyong himself entered the ancient castle would be exposed. And the castle that was exposed would automatically sink, and at that time, it would definitely sink into the ice lake. Who knew how many white jade demonic snakes there were in the ice lake? Once trapped, it was equivalent to falling into a devil's den, and there was no way to escape. So, he couldn't hide in the castle forever. He had to leave this ice lake first. Whoosh! After appearing, Qin Feiyong immediately used the phantom steps and rushed towards the forest by the lake. Although his speed was not as fast as the Snake Emperor, he was not far from the shore. With his speed, the Snake Emperor was stunned for a period of time, which was enough for him to successfully escape. The result was as he expected. When the Snake Emperor regained his senses, he had already escaped from the ice lake. However, before he had time to be happy, a group of people suddenly walked out of the forest in front of him. The leader immediately waved his hand, and a terrifying aura emerged, rushing towards Qin Feiyong like an avalanche. Ah! Qin Feiyong suddenly screamed, and his body was instantly fragmented. Blood splattered, dyeing the void under the night sky red. Dong! Following closely, he was like a cannonball, shot into the ice lake, and was drowned by the huge waves. Just as he fell into the ice lake, the densely packed white jade demonic snakes swarmed towards him. Why? Why are they on the forgotten continent? The bone-chilling cold lake water allowed Qin Feiyong to maintain a trace of consciousness in his drowsy state. But in the face of the countless white jade demonic snakes, crazily biting his body, he seemed to feel no pain, and his eyes were full of disbelief. At the last moment of drowsiness, his mind moved, and he entered the castle. With a bang, he fell to the ground, and it was unknown whether he was dead or alive. Wolf King, Fatso, Lu Hong, the pangolin, and the black dragon snake had already been awakened by Qin Feiyong's screams. Seeing Qin Feiyong appear with dozens of white jade demonic snakes stuck to his body, their expressions all changed. Boom! Wolf King and Fatso attacked almost at the same time. Battle chi gushed out, quickly erasing those white jade demonic snakes. Chapter 782. With this check, Lu Hong's eyes trembled, and her face was full of despair. Wolf King asked, "How is it?" However, Lu Hong didn't seem to hear it, and her eyes were incomparably sad. Seeing this, Fatso, Wolf King, and the three beasts all had an uneasy premonition in their hearts. "Hurry up and say it," Wolf King roared. "His chi sea is broken, his sea of consciousness is also broken. The white jade demonic snake's poison has also permeated his blood and cells," Lu Hong muttered. At the end, she turned to look at Fatso and the others and shouted, "He's about to die." What? As soon as these words came out, like a thunder on the ground, Fatso and the others trembled physically and mentally, and their minds rumbled. His injuries were actually so serious? Who the hell is it? "I swear I will kill you," Fatso roared again and again, as if he had gone mad. The pangolin and the black dragon snake's eyes were also full of grief and indignation. After getting along for so long, everyone had long regarded each other as family and couldn't bear to part with them. At this time, their hearts were filled with killing intent. "What's the use of shouting now?" Wolf King roared angrily and shouted, "Fatso, quickly go and find the Spirit Sea Pill, Essence Soul Pill, and Detoxification Pill." Fatso immediately turned and ran towards the altar. The pills refined by Qin Feiyang were basically placed on the altar and stored in a Chenkuan bag for everyone's convenience. It's too late. His injuries are too serious. These pills are useless. Lu Hong shook her head, her eyes full of sadness. Fatso's body trembled. It can't be. The mysterious madam is so vicious, but she can still continue to live freely. Although the boss is not a good person, he has never done anything outrageous. He won't be so short-lived. Fatso grabbed the Chenkuan bag, looking for the pills while shaking his head and muttering to himself. Tears also couldn't help but burst out of his eyes. In fact, from the beginning, he had already seen that Qin Feiyang was hopeless. But he was unwilling to give up. He didn't believe that Qin Feiyang would die like this. Therefore, no matter what the result was, he had to try and never give up. Because in the past, Qin Feiyang had never given up on them when their lives were in danger. Fatso stopped looking. Suddenly, the Wolf King's voice was filled with grief that could not be dispersed. Why not? As long as boss is still breathing, we can't give up. Where are the pills? Why can't I find it? Damn it, get the hell out here for Fat Lord. Fatso roared hysterically. His heart was in a complete mess. Finally he found the pill. But he didn't dare to turn around. Both of his hands clutched tightly onto a medicinal pill. He lay weakly on the altar and cried bitterly. He didn't need to look back to sense Qin Feiyang's current situation. The flame of life was already gone. His aura was also almost gone. He was no different from a dead man. Why, didn't we agree to live and die together? Why did you leave first? Wolf King walked towards Qin Feiyang step by step, muttering to himself. His heart felt like it was being twisted by a knife, and the pain was unbearable. I haven't had the chance to repay you for your kindness in recognizing my worth. The pangolin also cried out sadly. If it wasn't for Qin Feiyang, it would still be an unknown ferocious beast outside the city. It wouldn't have the achievements it had today. Although it didn't say it out loud, it had always been grateful to Qin Feiyang. At this moment, the emotions in its heart could no longer be controlled and poured out. At the same time, Black Dragon Snake also silently shed tears. The most painful one was Lu Hong. She hugged Qin Feiyang tightly in her arms, her eyes full of reluctance and nostalgia. At the same moment, spiritual state. Inner hall. Qin Feiyang, what happened to you? Why do I feel that you are about to die? In a cultivation room, a blonde woman also clutched her chest, her face full of panic. Inside the castle. No, boss won't die. Suddenly, Fatso got up and roared. Ha! Lu Hong and the others looked at him in surprise. The flame of life. Back in the Nine Nether Hell, my heart was shattered by the Crocodile Emperor. It was the flame of life that brought me back to life. Fatso said. That's right. The flame of life can save him. Quick, quick, quick. Wolf King's eyes trembled and hurriedly roared. Back then, although that cluster of flame of life merged with Fatso, Qin Feiyang later obtained another cluster of flame of life in the mother crocodile's nest. At that time, Black Dragon Snake was also present. Hearing Wolf King's roar, Fatso glanced at the altar and grabbed a jade box. When he opened it, a majestic life energy surged out like a tide. He saw a palm-sized flame of life lying quietly in the jade box. Fatso grabbed the flame of life, turned around and ran in front of Qin Feiyang. Without waiting for Fatso to speak, Lu Hong stretched out her jade hand, grabbed Qin Feiyang's chin and gently pinched it. Qin Feiyang's mouth opened slightly. Fatso squatted down and stuffed the flame of life into Qin Feiyang's mouth without hesitation. Boom! That majestic life force immediately exploded in Qin Feiyang's body, like waves of anger, crazily surging towards Qin Feiyang's limbs and bones. His broken body also immediately recovered at a speed visible to the naked eye. In less than 100 breaths, Qin Feiyang's wounds all over his body healed one after another. His skin was like a newborn. However, although his injuries were healed, Qin Feiyang's life fluctuations did not recover. It's useless? Everyone's heart sank into the ice valley again, and they fell into panic. Outside by the lake, the group of people who attacked Qin Feiyang was still there. In the air above the ice lake, the Snake Emperor and countless white jade demonic snakes stared at the group of people warily. Because they felt the threat of death from these people, they did not dare to act rashly. But the group of people did not pay attention to them, and their eyes were firmly locked on the ice lake. After an unknown period of time, one of them said, "Lord, Qin Feiyang should be dead this time, right?" "Yes." "He was unprepared and took a full blow from me. Plus there are countless white jade demonic snakes in the ice lake. He definitely has no hope of escaping. Let's go back and report. As for that ice crystal flower, it will be buried with him," the leader said coldly. Then, he opened a teleportation gate and led the group away. Shwa! Not long after the portal disappeared, a figure of light broke through the air. "Qin Feiyang, where are you? Come out quickly. I know I was wrong, I won't act on my own in the future, okay?" Accompanying it was an anxious voice. That's right. It was the double-winged snow eagle. But it did not know about Qin Feiyang's death, and only thought that Qin Feiyang was deliberately avoiding it because he was angry. Shwa! At the same time, the mysterious lady appeared out of thin air above the ice lake. "Why are you here?" Seeing this person appear, the double-winged snow eagle flew over with a trace of vigilance in its eyes. The mysterious lady said, "Qin Feiyang was ambushed just now, and now he is under the ice lake." "What? Who ambushed him?" The double-winged snow eagle was surprised. The mysterious lady said, "His enemy." The double-winged snow eagle's eyes trembled, and it looked down at the ice lake and asked, "Is he still alive?" "I don't know." The mysterious lady shook her head. The double-winged snow eagle was stunned, and it said in shock and anger, "How do you know he was ambushed by his enemy?" "I saw it with my own eyes." The mysterious lady said, "You saw it with your own eyes?" The double-winged snow eagle was stunned, and it said angrily, "Then why didn't you save him?" The mysterious lady looked at the double-winged snow eagle and asked, "Why should I save him?" The double-winged snow eagle was speechless. "I remember that you and he have not known each other for long. Why do you care so much about him?" The mysterious lady asked curiously. "He is a very loyal person, this empress admires him very much. Most importantly, he has not helped this empress open the door of potential. My door of potential. Bastard, come out quickly. Help me open the door of potential before you die, okay?" The double-winged snow eagle cried out sadly, full of unwillingness. Looking at the double-winged snow eagle crying like a ghost, the mysterious lady's cheeks twitched. "Why are all the beasts around Qin Feiyang like this?" The mysterious lady looked at the ice lake again, and said, "Don't cry. He should not be dead yet." The double-winged snow eagle was stunned, and it said in surprise, "How do you know?" "Intuition," the mysterious lady said. The double-winged snow eagle immediately rolled its eyes. If intuition could be relied on, even pigs could climb trees. Suddenly, its eyes turned, and it put away the sky thunder sword, turned into the size of a palm, and leaned in front of the mysterious lady, and said with a smile, "I'm curious to ask, what is the relationship between you and Qin Feiyang?" "My relationship with him," the mysterious lady pondered for a moment, and said with a faint smile, "It could be an enemy, or it could be a friend." The double-winged snow eagle raised its eyebrows, and said angrily, "Can you speak human language?" The mysterious lady looked up and stared at it, and a dangerous signal was released from her eyes. Don't, let's talk nicely, don't fight." The double-winged snow eagle's expression changed, and it quickly waved its wings. "I really admire Qin Feiyang, to be able to tolerate you guys. If it were me, I would have killed you and used you to make soup." The mysterious lady looked at it coldly, and then lowered her head to look at the ice lake again. No one knew what she was thinking, and her eyes flickered. The double-winged snow eagle also tactfully fell silent, but its heart was praying, "Bastard, don't die." As for the Snake Emperor, the moment the mysterious lady appeared, it had already taken the ice crystal flower and dived to the bottom of the lake. Time passed like this day by day. 3 days later, inside the ancient castle, Fatso and the others had not closed their eyes, and had been guarding Qin Feiyang's side. However, 3 days had passed, and Qin Feiyang's life force still had not recovered. Even breathing and heartbeat were not present. Their hearts were also getting more and more desperate day by day. "It can't be. You will definitely be able to survive, because a lot of people are waiting for you to go back," Lu Hong whispered, gently rubbing Qin Feiyang's face, her eyes revealing deep love. Actually, she had long liked Qin Feiyang, but all this time, she had been hiding this love in her heart. Qin Feiyang's life was hanging by a thread, and she could no longer control this feeling. If possible, She would rather use her life to exchange for Qin Feiyang's life. Fatso looked at Lu Hong, as if he had something to say, but didn't know how to say it. In the end, he sighed and said, God is really unfair to the boss. Yes. Chapter 783. Once. As the #1 genius of the imperial capital and the most promising person to inherit the throne, he could be said to have been doted on by thousands. But in the end, not only was his cultivation abolished, but he was also expelled from the imperial capital. In those 5 years in Iron Ox Town, Qin Feiyang was like an ant living in a gray area, struggling desperately to survive. With great difficulty, he finally managed to get up. After countless tribulations and setbacks, he finally returned to the imperial capital as he wished. But what he faced was the ruthless attitude and means of the emperor. To make matters worse, the emperor actually abolished his mother's position as the empress. He even sent his mother to the god's prison. If it were anyone else, facing such a heavy blow, they would have collapsed long ago. But Qin Feiyang was still working hard and never gave up. Why was God so cruel to a person who worked so hard? Recalling these things, Wolf King, Fatso, and the others all felt injustice for Qin Feiyang. If God has eyes, can he take care of this poor person more? Let him wake up. He still has a lot of unfulfilled wishes. Everyone prayed and called in their hearts. Everyone's hearts seemed to have been heard by God. Qin Feiyang's body suddenly overflowed with a trace of life. Heartbeat and breathing also appeared. Although it was very weak, it did exist. Is it an illusion? Everyone noticed it at the first moment, but they couldn't believe it. It's not an illusion. Lu Hong shook her head. Qin Feiyang was in her arms. Therefore, she could clearly feel every heartbeat and every breath he took. Is God showing up? Fatso, Wolf King, and the other beasts looked at each other, and then ecstasy emerged in their eyes. God didn't disappoint those who worked hard. There was finally hope. Time passed day by day. Why, on this day? Qin Feiyang suddenly roared. Lu Hong and the others were shocked and hurriedly looked at Qin Feiyang with concern. Qin Feiyang's hands were tightly clenched, and his face that was as pale as paper was distorted. However, he did not open his eyes. It was as if he was having a nightmare, and his eyes were filled with pain. Lu Hong grabbed Qin Feiyang's hand and said, Don't be afraid. We're all here. Why? Do you want me to die that badly? However, Qin Feiyang didn't seem to hear him. The more he roared, the more agitated and angry he became. At the same time, he grabbed Lu Hong's jade-like hand, as if he was grabbing onto a life-saving straw, refusing to let go. Lu Hong felt a little pain. However, she didn't retract her hand and continued to comfort him. Who was it that plotted against Boss? Looking at Qin Feiyang's pained expression, Fatso couldn't help but emit a shocking killing intent. Without a doubt. For Qin Feiyang to have such a reaction, it must have something to do with the person who attacked him. Could it be the Emperor? Black Dragon Snake guessed. Impossible. The Emperor doesn't even know that we are in the Forgotten Continent. Moreover, even if he knew, he wouldn't come in person. However, it should be related to the Emperor, Wolf King said. Under Lu Hong's comfort, Qin Feiyang gradually calmed down and continued to fall into a deep sleep. However, his brows were still furrowed. The pain between his brows was still there, and it was difficult to erase. He was still holding Lu Hong's hand tightly. However, without waiting for everyone to breathe a sigh of relief, Qin Feiyang once again roared hysterically, I refuse to accept this. As the roar sounded, a wave of resentment and hatred rushed out of his body. There was also a shocking murderous aura. At the same time, his long black hair quietly began to change. A trace of blood gradually climbed up the black hair. As soon as this blood color appeared, it was like a plague, quickly spreading to all his hair. Look! Fatso was the first to notice Qin Feiyang's abnormality. When Lu Hong, Wolf King, and the other beasts looked at Qin Feiyang's hair, they were also shocked. What's going on? At this moment, Qin Feiyang's consciousness fell into a strange space. This space was boundless, and there was nothing in it. Where is this? Qin Feiyang stood in the void, looking around in confusion. This is my world. Suddenly, a cold voice rang out. Who's talking? Qin Feiyang shouted. Crack. Boom! But before his voice fell, a gale suddenly rose in the sky, lightning flashed, and thunder rumbled. The originally pure white clouds quickly turned blood red. Crash! Following closely. It started to rain heavily. However, the shocking thing was that this rain was actually a rain of blood. The entire area was instantly dyed blood red. Qin Feiyong stood in the blood rain, and soon became a bloody man. He stretched out his hand, and the blood rain gathered in his palm. He could clearly sense that each drop of blood rain was filled with a shocking murderous aura. But he felt that this evil spirit was very familiar, as if it was a part of his body. Isn't it very familiar? That cold and sinister voice suddenly rang out from behind him. Qin Feiyong suddenly turned around, and immediately retreated in horror as if he had seen a ghost. He saw that in the void behind him, there was a young man in blood-red clothes. And this young man in blood-red clothes, whether it was his figure or his face, was exactly the same as him. The only difference was that the young man in blood-red clothes had long blood-red hair and a pair of blood-red eyes, like a sea of blood. Moreover, he was like the incarnation of all evil, emitting a strong evil spirit. The young man in blood-red clothes said, "I am your incarnation, what are you afraid of?" Incarnation? Qin Feiyong was stunned. He frowned and said, "Who are you and where is this?" "This is the world in the deepest part of your heart. And I am the incarnation of your resentment." The blood rain that bound him instantly turned into ashes. Then, his body also collapsed, turning into a white wave that rushed toward the blood wave formed by the inner demons. At the same time, the blood color in Qin Feiyong's hair gradually began to fade. What is going on? Lu Hong and the others were very anxious. Boom! In the inner world, the two blood waves violently collided, and the void also trembled. Give up. If this inner world collapses, we will all disappear. Do you know what it means to disappear? It means that your consciousness will be turned into ashes. The inner demon grinned hideously with an incomparable craziness. Qin Feiyong did not speak. The white wave, with a strong will, crazily collided with the blood wave. Rumble! Crack! A series of loud sounds shook the sky and the earth. Cracks began to appear in the void. "Are you really not afraid of death?" The inner demon's voice came out, with a trace of panic. "If you can't even fulfill your own wish, then what is the point of living?" Qin Feiyong said coldly. "You are not only a lunatic, but also an idiot." The inner demons was furious. "Lunatic or idiot, in short, I will not let you succeed." Qin Feiyong roared. His powerful willpower and monstrous aura actually forced the inner demon to retreat. 100 breaths passed. Qin Feiyong's inner world was shattered and was about to collapse. "Stop!" The inner demons hurriedly retreated, turned into human form, and stared at Qin Feiyong angrily. Qin Feiyong also stopped in the void, condensed into human form, and said sarcastically, "The inner demons are actually so afraid of death. Who is more cowardly and who is more incompetent?" The inner demons frowned and said helplessly, "Well, I am afraid of you. How about we talk? Do you think it is necessary?" Chapter 784. You don't think so? The inner demons retorted. "No." Qin Feiyong said without hesitation. "Haha." The inner demons laughed maniacally. They looked at Qin Feiyong as though they were looking at an idiot. "I've already said that I'm different from the inner demons of the past. The inner demons of the past were formed from your obsession and were born in an illusion. They're not on the same level as me. As for me, as long as the Emperor is still alive, I'll always exist. If you don't believe me, you can try to kill me." The inner demons placed his hands behind his back and smiled confidently. "I don't believe you." A cold glint flashed in Qin Feiyong's eyes. He activated the Guiyuan sword technique and the Void End technique at the same time. Clang! 30 sword shadows shook the sky and slashed out with devastating force. The inner demons collapsed on the spot and turned into a bloody mist. Immediately after, the invisible force pounced forward, frantically grinding away at the blood mist. "It's useless. It's all in vain." However, soon after, the inner demon's mocking voice rang in the air. "I don't believe you." Qin Feiyong was furious. The Crimson Sword Soul, the 9-leaf Fire Lotus, and the Purple Gold Dragon Soul roared. Their terrifying power was earth-shattering. Boom! Accompanied by a loud noise, a large part of the bloody mist instantly disappeared. There's hope. Qin Feiyang's eyes lit up. I really don't understand. Where did you see hope? The inner demons sneered. As soon as he finished speaking, the bloody rain in this space collapsed at the same time, turning into a bloody mist that surged in the void. There's only one way in this world to make me disappear, and that's to kill the Emperor. He is our father. Haha. The inner demons laughed maniacally. They were filled with an unruly aura. Qin Feiyang was dumbfounded. The laughter of the inner demons was erratic, echoing throughout the inner world. It was as if all the blood mist was his incarnation. A moment later, the inner demons revealed their true forms and mocked. What do you think? You can't do anything about it, can you? Qin Feiyang let out a long breath and nodded. All right, let's talk. Why didn't you agree earlier? Why did you have to waste so much time? The inner demon smiled proudly. I can give up on seizing this body, but I have a request. What request? Qin Feiyang frowned. During the day you will be in control of this body. I will not disturb you. But at night, I have to be in control. In other words, we will take turns controlling this body. The inner demon said. Impossible. Qin Feiyang flatly refused. These inner demons were many times more evil than the inner demons that had appeared last time. If she really let him control the body, who knows what kind of outrageous things he might do. So, there's no room for discussion? Let me tell you, as long as I do something, it's enough to crush you. The inner demons threatened. For example? Qin Feiyang asked. It seems that if I don't tell you the stakes clearly, you won't be afraid. For example, when you are fighting, I will suddenly seize control of this body. Inner demon chuckled and said, looking as if he was certain that he could eat Qin Feiyang. Qin Feiyang's heart sank. If that was the case, it would be really bad. Because during a battle, the worst thing was to be distracted. And once the inner demon seized control of the body, he would definitely be distracted to fight against the inner demons. When the time came, the consequences would be unimaginable. It seemed that he had to think of a way to control the inner demons. Otherwise, there would be endless trouble. The inner demons saw through Qin Feiyang's thoughts and said disdainfully, what can you do to control me? Qin Feiyang was silent. Suddenly, there was a trace of madness in his eyes, and he said, since there's no way, then let's die together. As soon as he said that, his body directly collapsed, turning into a huge white wave, and rushed towards the inner demons. Madman. The inner demons' expression changed and quickly said, okay, I'll compromise. You can do whatever you want. Qin Feiyang appeared in the void. He was gambling. Since the inner demons were afraid of death, they would use this weakness to threaten him. Sure enough, the inner demons were afraid. He looked at the inner demons and said, in the future, without my permission, you are not allowed to come out and cause trouble. Okay, you have the final say. The inner demons nodded helplessly, and then said, but can I have a small request? Say it. Qin Feiyang said. It's boring to stay here all the time. Let me out occasionally to get some fresh air. This request isn't too much, right? The inner demon said with a trace of pleading. Qin Feiyang pondered for a moment and nodded. I can agree. Then it's settled. The inner demons laughed, then sat cross-legged in the void, closed his eyes and said no more. Qin Feiyang took a deep look at him, and his figure quickly dissipated. At the same time, in the castle, Qin Feiyang's long hair had returned to normal, and his closed eyes suddenly moved. He's awake. Lu Hong and the others had been paying attention to Qin Feiyang. When they noticed this abnormality, a trace of surprise appeared on their faces. A moment later, Qin Feiyang finally opened his eyes, and there was confusion in his eyes. Little Qin Zi. Boss. Everyone squatted on the ground and looked at him with concern. I'm not dead? Qin Feiyang glanced at them. When he saw the familiar faces, he couldn't help but be absent-minded. Nonsense. If you're dead, can you still see us? Wolf King laughed and scolded. I'm really not dead. I'm really lucky. Qin Feiyang muttered. It's not that you're lucky. It's the fire of life that saved you. Wolf King said. What do you mean? Qin Feiyong was stunned and puzzled. The Wolf King explained the situation in a simple and clear manner. I see. Then my body, Qin Feiyong suddenly understood, and then looked at his body in surprise. Fatso laughed and said, it must have become an immortal body like Fat Lord. Immortal body. Then I really got a blessing in disguise. Qin Feiyong murmured, and a smile appeared on his pale face. Boom. But before he could finish his sentence, a powerful aura suddenly rushed out of his body uncontrollably. Moreover, this aura was getting stronger and stronger, and there were faint traces of him breaking through to the 7-star War Master. Qin Feiyong was startled. Fatso and the others also looked at him in shock. What was going on? Suddenly, Fatso seemed to have thought of something and laughed out loud. Boss, you've earned it. What do you mean? Everyone looked at him suspiciously. Have you forgotten? Back then, after Fat Lord fused with the fire of life, he also broke through a small realm. Fatso said. That's right. After being reminded by Fatso, everyone remembered. At that time, Fatso was only a 1-star War Master, but once he fused with the fire of life, he directly stepped into the 2-star War Master. He remembered that at that time, Wolf King was still very unbalanced in his heart. Finally, Qin Feiyong's aura indeed soared to the level of a 7-star War Master before stopping. Don't be envious. This is something that can't be envied. Looking at the envious gazes of Wolf King and the other beasts, Qin Feiyong laughed. Show off. Wolf King waved its claws in disdain, but its eyes started to roll. It was said that there were a total of 9 clusters of fire of life in this world. Nah. They had only found 2 clusters, and there were still 7 clusters of fire of life that were scattered outside. If he could find it, it would also have an immortal body. At the same time, Qin Feiyong wanted to get up, but the pain all over his body made him unable to move. Lie down for a while longer. Lu Hong laughed. She took out a heal pill and placed it next to Qin Feiyong's mouth. Qin Feiyong was startled. It was only now that he realized that he was actually lying on Lu Hong's legs. Smelling that alluring body fragrance, he couldn't help but feel restless. He hurriedly raised his hand, took the heal pill, and put it into his mouth. He smiled and said, "It's fine now, help me up." Lu Hong could not help but feel disappointed, and her eyes dimmed. However, she concealed it well, and even Qin Feiyong did not notice it. Next, she looked at Fatso, and saw that Fatso was looking at her and Qin Feiyong with a wretched expression. Her face immediately turned red, and she angrily said, "What are you standing there for? Quickly come and help." Heh. Fatso laughed sinisterly and stepped forward to help Qin Feiyong up. After getting up, Qin Feiyong moved his muscles and bones a little, looked at the crowd, and said, "I've made everyone worry. Who's worried about you?" Wolf King immediately said, "That's right, don't think too highly of yourself." The pangolin also joined in and teased. Qin Feiyong shook his head and smiled, a warm current flowing in his heart. These guys were stubborn, but their hearts were better than anyone else's. Suddenly, Fatso raised his eyebrows and asked, "All right, who attacked you?" Hearing this, everyone fell silent, and a cold light flashed in their eyes. Qin Feiyong also clenched his hands, silent, and there was a trace of pain in his eyes. A moment later, he let out a long breath and said, "It's the commander of the Black Iron Army." What? How did he know we were in the Forgotten Continent? Did the old man tell him? Everyone was surprised, because only the old man knew that they were in the Forgotten Continent. However, with their relationship with the old man should not betray them. Before this matter is investigated clearly, we can't make wild guesses, Qin Feiyong said. He also did not believe that the old man would expose them. Everyone looked at each other and temporarily put this matter aside. Fatty said, "There's another question. When you were unconscious, why did your hair turn blood red? It's as if you've gone mad." "Is that so?" Qin Feiyong looked at them in astonishment. They all nodded. Qin Feiyong could not help but frown. Could it be related to the inner demons? "It is related to me. If I succeed in seizing it, this body will look exactly like me." The inner demon's voice sounded in his mind. "So it's like that." Qin Feiyong muttered, looked at Fatso and the others and smiled. "When I was unconscious, I had a nightmare. It should be related to the nightmare." He did not plan to tell everyone about the inner demons, so that they would not worry about him. Hearing this, everyone did not think much about it, and thought that it was reasonable. The commander of the Black Iron Army went thousands of miles into the Forgotten Continent to kill Qin Feiyang. He must have been instructed by the emperor. Facing this kind of thing, it would be strange if Qin Feiyang did not have a nightmare. Sigh. Fatso sighed deeply, patted Qin Feiyang's shoulder and comforted him. Boss, don't be sad. No matter how the emperor treats you, we will always stand behind you. Yes. As long as we are here, you will not be fighting alone. Wolf King nodded. Chapter 785. Qin Feiyang looked at everyone, his eyes filled with gratitude. Although his life was very unfortunate, there were also things to be happy about. That was to be lucky enough to get to know this group of friends in front of him. No matter what setbacks or difficulties he encountered, everyone would follow him and never leave him. This was friendship. No one could give it up. He did not argue and asked, "How long has it been since I fainted?" "Half a month." Fatso said. "How time flies." Qin Feiyang sighed deeply. With a thought, he appeared at the bottom of the ice lake. The bone-piercing lake water made him quiver. Next, he scanned the surroundings, and his brows furrowed tightly. There were white jade magic snakes all around. The Snake Emperor was not far away, and the ice crystal flower was right beside it. Seeing Qin Feiyang appear, the Snake Emperor was surprised. He actually didn't die? Hiss. Following that, it let out a sharp cry, and the surrounding white jade magic snakes immediately swarmed towards Qin Feiyang. Shwa! Qin Feiyang's figure flashed, and as expected, he entered the castle. Wolf King asked, "How's the situation?" Qin Feiyang said in a deep voice, "Not good. The Snake Emperor is hiding at the bottom of the lake. I'm afraid it will be difficult to escape." Lu Hong said, "Don't worry about it for now. Hurry up and recuperate." Yes. Qin Feiyang nodded. He had just woken up, and his injuries were still very serious. If he were to escape from the ice lake now, he would most likely die. At the same time, the mysterious lady who was standing above the ice lake suddenly revealed a smile on her face. "What are you laughing at?" The dual-winged snow eagle looked at her in confusion. "He really didn't die." The mysterious lady laughed. The dual-winged snow eagle was stunned for a moment, then immediately became overjoyed. It immediately spread its wings and rushed towards the ice lake. The mysterious lady teased, "There is another white jade magic snake at the bottom of the lake. You have to think carefully." The dual-winged snow eagle's eyes trembled, and hurriedly stopped in the air. It raised its head and looked at the mysterious lady pleadingly, and said, "Then can you help him?" The mysterious lady said, "Give me a reason why should I help him?" The double-winged snow eagle was in a dilemma. It couldn't even figure out the relationship between Qin Feiyang and this woman. What reason could it find? No. Suddenly, a glint flashed across its eyes. If this woman didn't want to save Qin Feiyang, then why did she stay here? There was only one possibility. She was here to save Qin Feiyang. If he said that he wouldn't save it, he would just be teasing it. Thinking of this, the double-winged snow eagle laughed sinisterly. It flapped its wings and soared into the sky, leaving directly. The mysterious madam was stunned. She frowned and asked, "Aren't you going to save him?" "I want to save him. But I don't have that ability." So after thinking about it, I decided to forget about it. Although I didn't manage to unlock the gate of potential, it's still not a loss. At the very least, I managed to get a sacred artifact. The two-winged snow eagle said without turning its head. The mysterious lady's face darkened. This bastard was really unreliable. Next, she ignored the winged snow eagle and looked down at the frozen lake. She waved her hand gently. Boom! Immediately, an invisible force emerged and blasted into the frozen lake below. Accompanied by a loud noise, the entire frozen lake evaporated in an instant, turning into a bottomless pit. Other than the Snake Emperor and the ice crystal flower, the rest of the white jade demonic snakes were also killed. Hearing the commotion, the double-winged snow eagle stopped in the air and turned to look at the frozen lake. Looking at the mysterious lady, its eyes were filled with pride. At the same time, the Snake Emperor was also shocked. He hurriedly rolled up the ice crystal flower and escaped. Boom! However, the mysterious lady only released a little bit of her pressure and imprisoned the snake emperor in the air. Subsequently, the mysterious lady said, "Qin Feiyong, come out." In the castle. Hearing the mysterious lady's voice, Qin Feiyong and the others looked at each other. Wasn't this woman massacring the people in the second and first areas? Why was she here? Fatso said. This old witch must be planning something again. Boss, you have to be careful. Yes. Qin Feiyong nodded and left the castle. Seeing that the lake water had evaporated, he was not surprised at all. He raised his head and looked at the mysterious lady. Then, he dragged his tired body and flew up into the sky. The mysterious lady looked at Qin Feiyong and teased. You're not dead even like this. You're really lucky. If you're not dead, how can I die? Qin Feiyong said with a smile. Hee hee, the mysterious lady laughed heartily and said, I saved you after all. Aren't you going to thank me properly? Qin Feiyong landed in front of the mysterious lady and said, I'm afraid you're not that kind. Although we haven't known each other for long, I didn't expect you to know me so well. That's right. I didn't save you for nothing. I heard that you can help people open the door of potential. I'm very curious. How did you do it? Also, why did your father cripple your cultivation and send people to kill you from afar? The mysterious lady said. Qin Feiyong raised his eyebrows and looked at the double-winged snow eagle. The double-winged snow eagle's expression changed and quickly explained. I said that I can help people open the door of potential. But I didn't say a word about your background. You must believe me. Didn't say a word? Qin Feiyong frowned and looked at the mysterious lady suspiciously. Half a month ago. Hearing this name, the mysterious lady's eyes trembled slightly. About 10 breaths later. Boom! A muffled rumbling sound suddenly exploded from within the double-winged snow eagle's body. Following closely. From between its eyebrows, rays of resplendent white light blossomed. Potential imprint. Born. Qin Feiyong said, That's enough. Heard. The mysterious lady retracted her pressure and quickly rushed in front of the double-winged snow eagle. She pushed aside the feathers between the double-winged snow eagle's eyebrows, and when she saw the potential imprint, her face was immediately filled with shock. It actually worked. After a long while, she finally regained her senses. She turned around and suddenly looked at Qin Feiyong, and said, Where did you find this potential pill? Why should I tell you? Qin Feiyong coldly snorted. The mysterious lady looked at him deeply, and said, Even if you don't say it, I can guess it. Qin Feiyong was surprised. Legend has it that the former emperor of the Heavenly Sun Empire, Mu Tianyang, could also refine a pill that could unlock the door of potential. It was precisely this pill that made the Heavenly Sun Empire flourish, and no one dared to compete with it. But in the end, your ancestor was like a comet, rapidly rising. Not only did he kill Mu Tianyang, but he also destroyed the Heavenly Sun Empire. But since then, the pill that could unlock the door of potential disappeared from the world forever. But I never thought that it would appear in your body now. The mysterious lady said incredulously. Similarly, when Qin Feiyong heard this, he was also surprised. This woman actually knew so much? The mysterious lady smiled and said, I know far more than you think. How about we make a deal? What kind of deal? Qin Feiyong frowned. The mysterious lady said, Give me the potential pills recipe, and I will tell you about the Mu Jia's situation. Impossible. Qin Feiyong flatly refused. He really wanted to know about the Mu Jia's situation, but to exchange the potential pills recipe, he couldn't do it. Kid, you're really stubborn. Anyway, I also gave you so many perfect battle techniques, and I also gave you the Heavenly Thunder Flame and the Ice Flame. Don't you know how to repay me? The mysterious lady was a little angry. Her eyes looked like she was looking at a white-eyed wolf. Qin Feiyong coldly said, But you also hurt me a lot. Let's not talk about the past, but this time if there was no fire of life, he would have already reported to hell. Well, then let's change the condition. Give me some of the pill that can unlock the door of potential, and I will tell you about my origin. Chapter 786. Qin Feiyong's heart skipped a beat. He had always been curious about the mysterious lady's identity. If he could really use some potential pills to find the answer, it would not be a loss. Sure. But you have to tell me first before I can give you the pills. After all, you're so strong. If you run away with the pills, wouldn't I lose more than I gain? After pondering for a while, Qin Feiyong nodded and said, "What a vigilant little guy." The mysterious lady mumbled and shook her head. "That won't do. What if I tell you first and you don't give me the pills?" "Do I dare?" Qin Feiyong sneered. "Is there anything you don't dare to do?" The mysterious lady laughed. Qin Feiyong had a space divine item that could hide in. Of course, she had to be careful. Otherwise, if she suffered a loss, she would have no place to complain. Qin Feiyong raised his eyebrows and said, "Seems like we can't come to an agreement. You have to trust me. Although I'm not a good person, my words are trustworthy. How about this? Give me 3 potential elixirs first. After I tell you about my background, you can give me the remaining potential elixirs." The mysterious lady suggested. "You know about the potential pill?" Qin Feiyong's eyes trembled. He thought that this woman only knew about the potential pill, and he only intended to take out the potential pill. But he did not expect that this woman even knew about the potential pill. The mysterious lady pursed her lips and smiled. "I said that I know far more than you think. For example, the little creation pill." Qin Feiyong's heart was in turmoil. What exactly was this woman's background? "Okay, I promise you. But before that, you have to help it open the remaining gate of potential." Qin Feiyong pointed at the double-winged snow eagle and said. He did not want to delay any longer. He had to figure out this woman's identity. "This is a small matter." The mysterious lady smiled. After half a day, the double-winged snow eagle finally opened the 5th level of the gate of potential. The reason why he needed so much time was because every time he opened the gate of potential, his body would be severely injured and he would need some time to recuperate. After unlocking the 5th level of the gate of potential, the talent and cultivation speed of the double-winged snow eagle had undoubtedly undergone a tremendous change. This made it very excited and unable to extricate itself. Qin Feiyong looked at it and said expressionlessly, "You've gotten what you wanted. Return the heavenly thundersword to me and you can leave." "What do you mean?" The double-winged snow eagle was stunned, looking at Qin Feiyong in surprise. Qin Feiyong said, "Didn't you follow me to open the door of potential?" The double-winged snow eagle was stunned. It took a while before it regained its composure. Immediately, it said angrily, "Bastard, do I look like a snobbish person?" Qin Feiyong looked at it seriously and nodded. "Yes." Fuck. The double-winged snow eagle was completely irritable. It roared, "If I were that kind of snobbish person, I would have already taken the heavenly thundersword and flown far away. Why would I stay here and wait for you?" Qin Feiyong frowned and said, "You're waiting for me here. Isn't it because you're not satisfied that you haven't opened the gate of potential?" The double-winged snow eagle was silent. It looked at Qin Feiyong with disappointment in its eyes. Qin Feiyong was also silent. He stared at the double-winged snow eagle's eyes. Suddenly, he smiled. The double-winged snow eagle raised its eyebrows. What did this mean? "Idiot. Can't you tell that Qin Feiyong is testing you?" The mysterious lady rolled her eyes and said. "Testing?" The double-winged snow eagle was stunned. It looked at Qin Feiyong and asked, "Is that so?" "That's right. I don't want to have a ticking time bomb by my side." Qin Feiyong nodded and said with a smile. The double-winged snow eagle had not been with him for long. In addition, it was stubborn and unruly, so he wanted to give it a try. Was the double-winged snow eagle sincere in following him? The result was also very obvious. The double-winged snow eagle following him was not a joke. But the double-winged snow eagle was unhappy. It was fine if he did not believe it, but he actually used such a wicked method to test it. It was too much. "Let me tell you, you can forget about this thundersword." It snorted coldly and turned its head away in a fit of anger, looking very cold. Qin Feiyong shook his head and laughed. He ignored it and took out 3 potential pills and threw them to the mysterious lady. The mysterious lady caught them in her hands and looked down. Her eyes were shining. "The potential pills have been given to you. Can you say it now?" Qin Feiyong frowned and said. The The mysterious lady looked up at him and said with a smile, "Your ancestor and I are from the same time period." "What?" Qin Feiyong's eyes trembled, and he said in surprise, "You know my ancestor." The mysterious lady looked up, and there was a trace of reminiscence in her eyes. She said softly, "The name of the Qin emperor shook the world. Who didn't know in that era?" Qin Feiyong could not help but be absent-minded. Shook the world. How amazing was his ancestor back then? Just how strong was he? A moment later, the mysterious lady retracted her gaze and looked at Qin Feiyong. "Give me the potential pills." Qin Feiyong was stunned and frowned. "You just told me this. Is this not enough?" The mysterious lady said. "Nonsense, what does this have to do with your true identity?" Qin Feiyong said angrily. This woman was clearly playing mind games with him. "True identity?" The mysterious lady laughed and said, "Did you remember wrongly? I only said to tell you my origin. I did not say to tell you my true identity." Qin Feiyong raised his eyebrows and thought about it carefully. He could not help but be angry. This woman really did not say it. He rubbed his forehead. Truly, he was smart all his life, but stupid this time. Then, he looked at the mysterious lady and said, "Then if I give you the potential pills, will you tell me your true identity?" The mysterious lady hesitated and nodded. "All right, you will know sooner or later anyway. Give me 2 potential pills." Qin Feiyong looked at her suspiciously, took out 2 potential pills, and threw it over. The mysterious lady caught it in her hand, looked at it for a moment, and said in surprise, "It's really a potential pill." Qin Feiyong said impatiently, "Don't dawdle, tell me." After the mysterious lady slowly kept the pills, she looked at Qin Feiyong and said, "I won't tell you." Qin Feiyong's eyes suddenly filled with anger. "But I can tell you if you really want to investigate the Mu family, then go to the Central Divine Kingdom. Also, for at least 5 years, I won't disturb you again. Of course, I won't appear to save you again. Take care of yourself." After the mysterious lady finished speaking, she opened a teleportation door and disappeared without a trace with the Snake Emperor. However, she did not take the ice crystal flower with her and left it to Qin Feiyong. Qin Feiyong was originally very angry, but after hearing this, his heart felt much better. He had finally gotten rid of this terrifying female devil, although it was only for 5 years. Then, he lowered his head and fell into deep thought. What kind of place was the Central Divine Kingdom? What kind of role did Mu Qing's family play in the Central Divine Kingdom? Suddenly, he seemed to have thought of something, and a trace of surprise appeared in his eyes. Mu Tianyang's surname was Mu, and Mu Qing's surname was also Mu. Could the two be related? After thinking about it, he felt that it was not very possible. Mu Qing was in the Forgotten Continent. Mu Tianyang was in the Great Qin Empire. How could 2 people from 2 different places be involved? Taking a step back, if Mu Qing was related to Mu Tianyang, then the person Mu Qing was looking for should be Mu Tianyang. But why Lu Xingchen? In this mystery, what kind of role did Lu Xingchen play? Qin Feiyong scratched his head, but he could not figure it out. Forget it. He shook his head hard. Instead of racking his brains here, he might as well go directly to the Central Divine Kingdom and find out what was going on. He stretched out his hand and grabbed the ice crystal flower. He looked up at the 2-winged snow eagle and said, "Did you kill that ice crocodile?" "No." The 2-winged snow eagle shook its head and said angrily, "That guy's running speed is not normal. I chased for dozens of miles and still couldn't catch up. I told you not to chase, but you insisted. Who's to blame?" Qin Feiyong rolled his eyes and said, "What about the black ice fruit?" "I'm not telling you." The 2-winged snow eagle turned its head and said, You've opened the door of potential. You're awesome now, aren't you?" "Don't forget, the door of potential has a 6th and 7th level," Qin Feiyong said. Hearing this, the 2-winged snow eagle immediately smiled and said, "Don't misunderstand, don't misunderstand. I was just joking with you. Look at you." Qin Feiyong looked at it with disdain. The 2-winged snow eagle laughed. Suddenly, a light flashed in front of it, and the small tree appeared out of thin air. The 3 black ice fruits were also intact. At that time, when the ice crocodile swallowed me, I immediately stored the small tree into my chi, so there was no damage at all. How is it? I'm smart, right? The two-winged snow eagle said flatteringly. When a beast's strength reached a certain level, its chi could be used as a storage space to store various items. Of course. Humans could do it too. However, humans had Qianquan bags. Unless it was something extremely important, they would not put it in their chi. It did not mean that doing so would cause harm to their chi. It was purely a habit. Qin Feiyong glanced at it snappily and nodded. And at least you have some brains. The two-winged snow eagle pursed its lips and asked sneakily. Then when are you going to help me open the 6th level of the Door of Potential? The Door of Potential had a total of 10 levels in the world. Warrior, Martial Master, Martial Ancestor, War King, War Emperor and so on. The Extreme Warrior realm was the 1st level. The Martial Master realm was the 2nd level. And so on. The 5th level belonged to the War Emperor realm. And the two-winged snow eagle had already stepped into the 9-star war sect. In other words, it already had the qualifications to open the 6th level. However, the problem was that the potential pill could only open the 4th and 5th levels. It could not open the 6th level. To open the 6th level, you need the small creation pill. At present, there are still a lot of medicinal ingredients for the small creation pill. If you can't wait, then break through first. Qin Feiyong thought for a moment and said. Then let's continue waiting. The two-winged snow eagle said. If he were to break through to the War Saint realm now, then he would have to wait until the 9-star War Saint realm next time. Although he had opened the 5th level and his cultivation speed had greatly increased, compared to opening the 6th level, the difference was like heaven and earth. So, it was better to have short pain than long pain. He would step into the War Saint realm after opening the 6th level. Similarly, when the two-winged snow eagle asked this question, Qin Feiyong realized that the small creation pill was the most important thing right now. This was because he had already stepped into the 7-star war sect and was only 2 small realms away from the 9-star war sect. If he didn't hurry up and gather the medicinal ingredients for the small creation pill, he would probably face the same situation as the two-winged snow eagle. He would be stuck in the 9-star war sect and wouldn't dare to cultivate. However, the small creation pill required 10,000-year-old medicinal ingredients. Where could he find so many in such a short period of time? What a headache! He really couldn't understand why the ferocious beasts around him were all a bunch of little money grubbers. Whoosh! He used the phantom steps and rushed into the sky like a bolt of lightning. He landed on the snowy ridge and looked ahead. Immediately, his pupils shrank. Dozens of miles away, 2 black figures were fighting a bloody battle. Those 2 people were extremely powerful, and were evenly matched. They fought until the sky turned dark. Moreover, the heavens and the earth were filled with a vast and mighty saint might. Obviously, both of them were battle saints. Qin Feiyong glanced at the 2 people. Judging from their aura, they should be 1-star battle saints. The double-winged snow eagle said in surprise, "We just walked out of the glacier and we already met 2 battle saints. Don't tell me that there are as many battle saints as dogs in the 3rd area?" Qin Feiyong's eyes also darkened. If what the double-winged snow eagle said was true, then wouldn't the deeper areas of the 4th and 5th areas be even stronger? The Forgotten Continent was indeed as Lu Xingchen had said, it was not simple. The double-winged snow eagle also restrained its aura to the extreme and said in a low voice, "Let's go, we'll sneak over." "Don't act recklessly," Qin Feiyong said. "Don't worry, I still know my limits. However, if there are any treasures, then it's a different story." The double-winged snow eagle said with a sly smile. Qin Feiyong glanced at it speechlessly. He then jumped down from the snowy ridge and quietly approached the battlefield. After dozens of breaths, a man and an eagle were hiding on top of a broken ice peak, watching the 2 figures fighting. This place was only 3 to 4 miles away from the center of the battlefield. With Qin Feiyong and the double-winged snow eagle's current strength, they could clearly see the faces of the 2 figures. They were an old woman and an old man, both of whom looked very old. The old woman was emaciated, dark eye bags sunk into her eye sockets, and her eyes emitted wisps of terrifying green light. She was also wearing a dark green robe. She looked like a ghost from hell. The old man, on the other hand, was quite strong. His face was flushed, and he wore a black robe. However, his wrinkled old face was also filled with a murderous aura. The two of them did not speak, as if they had a blood feud and were crazily attacking each other. It could even be said that they were using unscrupulous means. The double-winged snow eagle looked around carefully and said in confusion, "That's strange, I don't see any treasures, why are they all so crazy? What are you thinking? Do you think that people are killing each other for treasures?" Qin Feiyong looked at it helplessly. "That's true." The double-winged snow eagle smiled embarrassedly. Qin Feiyong rolled his eyes at it and continued to watch the battle. The two of them were on par with each other in terms of strength, and both of them were injured to a certain extent. However, looking at the overall situation, the old man in the black robe had a higher chance of winning. As for the old woman in the green robe, although she was also extremely ferocious, she vaguely gave off a sense of powerlessness. As expected, in less than 100 breaths, the situation began to change. The old man in the black robe became fiercer and fiercer, and the old woman in the green robe was constantly pushed back. Until the end. Even if the old woman in the green robe used all her means, such as battle arts and fighting souls, she could not turn the tables. The old man in the black robe had the upper hand. Boom! The last violent collision, the old woman in the green robe was immediately sent flying. Half of her body directly exploded in the void, blood staining the sky, and smashed into the glacier below, deeply buried. However, although the old man in the black robe had won, his injuries were not light. One of his arms was torn apart by the old woman in the green robe. His body was riddled with ghastly cracks, and blood was flowing out. "Stupid woman, you still want to fight with me, you really don't know what's good for you." The old man in the black robe took a deep breath, smiled coldly, and rushed forward, ignoring the injuries on his body. "Fight!" The two-winged snow eagle was stunned, and immediately became excited as if he had been injected with chicken blood. That old man said the word "fight," which was enough to prove that there must be treasures nearby. "Quick, quick, quick, follow him." It stared at the back of the old man in the black robe, and impatiently urged Qin Feiyong secretly. "Don't rush me, I'm not deaf." Qin Feiyong angrily stared at it, jumped down the ice peak, and landed on the snow below, and then quietly followed up. In his heart, he was also quite surprised. What could make two battle saints fight with their lives on the line to obtain it? The old man in the black robe was seriously injured, and his speed was not even half of his usual, so Qin Feiyong had been following behind him. About a few hundred breaths later, an ice valley appeared in front of them. The old man in the black robe did not stop, and directly rushed into the ice valley. Qin Feiyong and the two-winged snow eagle looked at each other, and cautiously followed in. But when they entered the ice valley, they were dumbfounded. The ice valley was not very big, about a few hundred feet, and was surrounded by ice peaks, and there was only one narrow entrance. Looking around, there was nothing at all. And the old man in the black robe had disappeared. The two-winged snow eagle looked around the ice valley in surprise. The ice valley was only so big, and there was no place to hide. That old man could not have disappeared from the world, but where was he? It seemed that this Blue Sea tribe also had a certain level of strength in the 3rd district, otherwise this old man would not dare to have such ambition. But in Qin Feiyong's view, this person was a frog at the bottom of a well. Chapter 788. However, he reckoned that the black-robed old man and the people in the 1st and 2nd regions did not know about the background of the Pill Pagoda. Otherwise, even if he was given 100 guts, he would not dare to have such thoughts. Suddenly, the double-winged snow eagle said, "Don't you think it's strange that there is a sacred weapon here?" "Yes, why?" Qin Feiyong frowned. Sacred weapons were refined by humans. Usually, they were controlled by someone and would not be left outside. Unless, of course, an expert had fallen here in the past. But there were no white bones in the ice cave. It was impossible to say that the white bones had turned into ashes. Because the temperature here was too cold, even flesh and blood would not rot. Just as Qin Feiyong was deep in thought, the black-robed old man suddenly raised his arm and grabbed the ice blade. "Don't let him succeed." The double-winged snow eagle's eyes trembled and hurriedly shouted, "Then why are you still talking nonsense?" Qin Feiyang glared at it and directly took out the Chong Shui and rushed toward the black-robed old man. The double-winged snow eagle also took out the sky thunder sword, full of murderous intent. Who is it? The aura of the sky thunder sword in Chong Shui immediately alerted the black-robed old man. He suddenly turned his head and looked at Qin Feiyang and the double-winged snow eagle. Only then did he realize that there were two little tails behind him. However, when he fought with the green-robed old woman, he was already seriously injured and could only use 1/10 of his peak strength at most. In addition, Qin Feiyang and the double-winged snow eagle's attack was sudden and Chong Shui and the sky thunder sword were two killing weapons. Therefore, even if he reacted in time, even if he was a one-star battle saint, there was nothing he could do. Clang! Puff! The Chong Shui was invincible. It penetrated his chest like lightning and shattered his heart. The heavenly thunder sword followed closely behind. Its sharpness swept across the world and directly sliced him in half, killing him on the spot. Old man, don't you know that there is an old saying in this world, the mantis stalks the cicada, unaware of the oriole behind? Looking at the black-robed old man who died with his eyes wide open, the two-winged snow eagle chuckled. Qin Feiyang was also full of smiles. He put away the Chong Shui and looked up at Ice Blade. He really did not expect that he would be able to obtain a saint artifact. Now the strength of their small team had undoubtedly increased by a large margin. The double-winged snow eagle shuddered. Its four wings wrapped around its small body. It urged, "Hurry up and drip your blood on it. I'm about to freeze to death." Qin Feiyang glanced at it and saw it curled up and shivering. He couldn't help but laugh. Subsequently, he cut his finger and a drop of blood dripped onto the ice blade. This man was in his 40s, with a rough face and some white hair on his temples. He was wearing a purple robe, but his clothes were ragged. His whole body was covered with wounds and blood. This man had been dead for a long time. There was no sign of life. However, under the ice, this man's body did not decay at all. Even the wounds and blood on his body did not change. It was as if he had just died. The two-winged snow eagle approached and said, "It seems that he is the owner of the ice blade." "Yes." Qin Feiyang nodded, pointed at the middle-aged man's heart, and said, "This should be his fatal wound." There was a fist-sized bloody hole in the middle-aged man's heart. It penetrated from the front to the back. His heart was also shattered. The two-winged snow eagle circled around the middle-aged man and suddenly looked at the middle-aged man's waist. There was a Qianquan bag tied there. There are even sacred artifacts. There must be a lot of treasures in the Qianquan bag. It muttered to itself and ran up excitedly. It quickly removed the ice on the middle-aged man's body and took out the Qianquan bag. Damn! The moment its mind sank into the Qianquan bag, it was stunned on the spot. Is it that exaggerated? Qin Feiyang looked at it suspiciously, snatched the Qianquan bag, and sank his mind into it. Immediately, he was also stunned. His face was filled with disbelief. Inside the Qianquan bag, there were countless gold coins and medicinal herbs. But the gold coins were only secondary. The medicinal herbs were what shocked them. The number of medicinal herbs was impossible to estimate. There were too many of them. They filled more than half of the Qianquan bag. And most of the medicinal herbs had a naturally formed tiger-shaped spiritual tattoo. In other words, these were all medicinal herbs that were 10,000 years old. After coming back to their senses, Qin Feiyang and the two-winged snow eagle's eyes trembled. They were overjoyed. There were so many medicinal herbs that were 10,000 years old. They were even more valuable than sacred artifacts. "How is it? Now do you admit that I am your lucky star?" The two-winged snow eagle said proudly. "Yes, yes." Qin Feiyang nodded repeatedly. If the two-winged snow eagle had not discovered it, he would definitely have missed this huge treasure. The two-winged snow eagle chuckled and said eagerly, "Then quickly take a look. Can you gather all the medicinal herbs for the small creation pill? Can you not be so impatient?" Qin Feiyang rolled his eyes at it. He quickly calmed down and continued to check the Qianquan bag. After a while, he was stunned and took out a jade box. When he opened the jade box, a wave of heat suddenly surged out. Alchemy fire. Qin Feiyang's eyes trembled. He saw a palm-sized flame lying quietly in the jade box. It was as red as blood. And from the aura of the alchemy fire, He could tell that it was a 6th-grade alchemy fire. Not only did he get a sacred artifact and countless medicinal herbs that were 10,000 years old, but now he also got a 6th-grade alchemy fire. Qin Feiyang was crazy with joy. It seems that this person is also an alchemist. Quickly take a look. Are there any other treasures? The two-winged snow eagle was also drooling. The small creation pill was thrown to the back of his mind. Looking at the two-winged snow eagle drooling, Qin Feiyang was helpless to the extreme. He also secretly swore that when he looked for a partner in the future, he would definitely not find this kind of high-quality goods. After keeping the alchemy fire in the castle, Qin Feiyang continued to check. After a while, an old book floated into the air. Qin Feiyang opened it. The book recorded all kinds of alchemy recipes. After reading for a while, Qin Feiyang lost interest and threw it aside. The alchemy recipes were very complete. There were even alchemy recipes for the Spirit Sea Pill and the Essence Soul Pill. For other alchemists, this book could be said to be priceless. But for Qin Feiyang, it was completely worthless. Because the alchemy recipes recorded in the alchemy scripture were more detailed than this. After a while, a token flew out from the Chenkuan bag. Qin Feiyang grabbed it in his hand and looked down. The token was the size of a baby's palm. It was as white as jade and engraved with a giant python pattern. And on the other side, there were 3 words. Pei Chang Feng. These 3 words were like iron hooks and silver strokes, vigorous and powerful. Pei Chang Feng, Qin Feiyang muttered to himself. He looked at the middle-aged man and said, Pei Chang Feng should be his name. But this giant python pattern, what does it mean? The double-winged snow eagle said impatiently, who cares what it means? Keep looking. Qin Feiyang pondered for a while, put down the token, searched for a while, and took out another alchemy furnace. The alchemy furnace was bronze in color. It was about the size of a wash basin. There was also a giant python pattern engraved on the wall. But there was not the slightest bit of treasure light. It was simple and unadorned. It's just an ordinary alchemy furnace? Qin Feiyang was a little stunned. Only ordinary alchemy furnaces did not have treasure light. However, how could such an expert carry an ordinary alchemy furnace with him? After coming back to his senses, Qin Feiyang decisively cut his finger and dripped his blood to bind it. As soon as the blood contract was formed, a wave of information immediately poured into his mind. It's actually a 6th-grade alchemy furnace. At this moment, Qin Feiyang's body trembled. As he said, it was definitely not that simple. But then, his mind was full of doubts. Since it was a 6th-grade alchemy furnace, how could there be no treasure light? He picked up the alchemy furnace and looked at it carefully. Suddenly, his eyes locked on a certain spot, and a wry smile crept onto his face. It turned out that there were a few imperceptible cracks on the alchemy furnace. And once there were cracks on the alchemy furnace, it was equivalent to reporting it as a waste product. It was impossible to refine pills at all. If he forced himself to refine pills, the furnace would definitely explode. In other words, although this alchemy furnace was a 6th-grade alchemy furnace, it had no value. It was impossible for him to survive. However, at this moment, not only had the shattered half of his body been repaired, but it was also standing before him, alive and well. Was he dreaming? The saint's might surged forth, imprisoning Qin Feiyang. The green-robed old woman laughed sinisterly. Kid, you're very capable. You actually hid in the dark and reaped the benefits of the fisherman. Qin Feiyang's heart trembled. He pretended to be shocked and said, Senior, what do you mean by this? Has this junior ever seen you, senior? Pretend. Continue pretending. The green-robed old woman looked at him sarcastically. Pretend? No. This junior really doesn't understand. Senior, what are you talking about? Qin Feiyang said very innocently. You don't understand? Little fellow, don't play tricks in front of this old woman. You're still too inexperienced. When you followed that old thing into the ice valley, I was also following behind you. The green-robed old woman sneered. Qin Feiyang frowned and laughed. You should have said so earlier. I don't need to act anymore. This act is quite tiring. Then he smiled and asked, "Since you found me, why didn't you follow me in?" Looking at the smile on Qin Feiyong's face, the green-robed old woman was quite surprised. He had thought that after being exposed, this kid would be nervous and afraid. But he didn't expect that he would actually dare to laugh. He had guts. This old woman didn't follow in because this old woman was injured and didn't have the confidence to kill that old thing. So instead of running in and taking the risk, it's better to stay here and wait for an opportunity to move. I thought that you would be killed by him, but I didn't expect that the person who came out in the end would be you. The green-robed old woman did not hide the injuries on her body, and there was a trace of disbelief in her eyes. Maybe I'm lucky. Qin Feiyong grinned. The green-robed old woman's eyes turned cold, and said, "Don't talk nonsense with me. In short, do you want to live?" "Of course," Qin Feiyong said without hesitation. The green-robed old woman said, "Then answer this old woman's question honestly. Is that old thing dead or alive now?" "Isn't it obvious? He's already dead." Qin Feiyong did not hide it. "Who killed him?" The green-robed old woman frowned. "Me." Qin Feiyong nodded. "You." The green-robed old woman looked at Qin Feiyong suspiciously, her face full of disbelief. At that time, there was only him and me in the ice cave. Other than me, who else could it be? Qin Feiyong shrugged and said. The green-robed old woman said, "I seem to remember that there was a snow eagle on your shoulder at that time. To tell you the truth, Senior, that snow eagle is Junior's partner. Just now, when we were ambushing that old fellow in the ice cave, we were discovered by that old fellow. In order to save me, Snow Eagle unfortunately died in his hands." The green-robed old woman's face twitched. Could a person who dared to kill and rob be a kind person? Who was he kidding? She was patient and comforted. "Don't worry, I always keep my word and never break it." Qin Feiyong looked at her suspiciously, and finally nodded. "Okay, I'll believe you this time." "Then hurry up," the green-robed old woman urged impatiently. "You're using your sacred power to imprison me. How can I get it for you?" Qin Feiyong said. "That's right." The green-robed old woman patted her head. With a thought, the sacred power that trapped Qin Feiyong was reduced by more than half. Phew! Qin Feiyong let out a long breath. Now, the sacred power of a one-star battle saint could no longer imprison him, but he had to pretend to numb the green-robed old woman. He pretended to move his muscles and bones, and then waved his hand. Clang! The ice blade suddenly appeared out of thin air in front of him. As soon as the ice blade appeared, the green-robed old woman's eyes also burst out a bright light. That was greed. Quickly erase the blood contract and throw it over, the green-robed old woman urged, and even her breathing was a little rapid. Throw it over? Qin Feiyong raised his eyebrows imperceptibly. His plan was to let the green-robed old woman come over to get it herself, or personally deliver it to the green-robed old woman. When the time came, he could call out Wolf King and the others in an instant and quickly kill them while they were unprepared. So, if he threw it over, his plan would not be able to be carried out. But he did not know. The green-robed old woman was also very wary of him. As an old monster who had lived for countless years, how could she be an idiot? The young man in front of her was able to kill the black-robed old man. Even if it was a sneak attack, it was enough to show that he must have some extraordinary means. It was not easy to escape from the gates of hell. She did not want to fall into the hands of this little kid because of carelessness. A one-star battle saint being schemed against by a battle master would become a joke. But the biggest reason was still because she was injured. Otherwise, she would have already snatched it. Didn't you hear what I said? Quickly erase the blood contract and throw it over. Seeing that Qin Feiyong did not move, the green-robed old woman became more vigilant. What a suspicious old bastard. Qin Feiyong secretly cursed. Obviously. He also noticed the green-robed old woman's vigilance. He raised his head and looked at the green-robed old woman, reached out his hand and stroked the ice blade, and sighed. I really can't bear to do it. This was purely to dispel the green-robed old woman's vigilance. He wanted the green-robed old woman to think that he did not move because he could not bear to do it, and not because of ulterior motives. The green-robed old woman really believed it. Because this was a matter of course, there was no flaw. After all, The ice blade was a sacred weapon. Who would be willing to give it to others? How about this? The two of us can be considered to be fated. You give the ice blade to this old woman, and this old woman will give you 2 superior battle arts as compensation for your loss. The green-robed old woman said. However, the so-called compensation was just a delaying tactic. When Qin Feiyong heard this, he also beat her at her own game. He pretended to be very happy and asked, "Do you have any auxiliary battle arts?" "Yes." You're tuning in to the Xueqi's Martial Arts Saga YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.